So there's also explained in a different way. So
Good evening. Thanks for joining the July the 8th meeting of Scottsville's Architectural Review Board. I'm the town administrator, Matt Wallace. Our meeting will be starting here in just about 5 minutes. We're still gathering our quorum. The town's local state of emergency has ended, so this meeting is being held pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act with a quorum of the board physically present here. This Zoom recording here live and then up on the town's YouTube channel after the meeting helps us increase our transparency to the public. We appreciate you joining in. Public comment and participation is welcome online and in person. I'm going to mute this line while we finish setting up here for just the next couple of minutes. So if you'd like to skip ahead on the recording 5 minutes, you'll see the start of the meeting coming to order then. Thank you.
All right. 7 o'clock. Second Thursday. I can see it's weirder seeing myself. This is weirder. Somehow this is more strange. I've been seeing
Yeah.
been over, not here anyway. This is our first in-person meeting at the ARB in over a year. So this is exciting for everyone. Being on different sides of the Zoom camera. One of our members is remote today. Bob, hello Bob. It's good to see you. Okay. So we have our agenda in front of us today. We've got our quorum. So can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? That all looks good to me.
You want to add the minutes too?
Oh yeah, let's add the minutes then.
I would do that to the agenda for today. I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you. All right. So it is the ARB's custom to take applicants who are here first. So take things a little bit out of order to meet with people who are here presently or in the Zoom. We'll start with the folks in the room today. Before we do, just kind of go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Zachary Bullock. I'm on town council. I'm also the chair of the ARB.
I'm Barbara Wilkinson, and I'm on the ARB.
I'm Erin Root, and I'm the vice chair.
I'm Mark Harris. I'm not on the ARB.
I'm Bob O'Halloran. I'm on the ARB. I'm at home.
I'm Brittany Hobbs, and I'm
Nice to meet you, Brittany. Thank you.
And I'm Jenny Texcott.
Jenny, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Matt and I'm Tom. We're the town staff, also not on the ARB, just here to help.
Yeah, great. And so what we'll do here, especially since we have some new business here before us tonight, just a little bit of how this will go. We'll just invite you up to the table, talk through your project. We'll have discussion. We'll ask you some questions first, and we'll sort of talk amongst ourselves. And sort of the purpose of what we're trying to do here is find out what your project is, match it up with our design guidelines and our ordinances, and see what we can do to move forward. And for the board, since we're going to be talking about some new business tonight, there's no expectation that we necessarily come to a consensus or decision this evening. We can, but if you feel like we need more information or something, we can ask for that and delay decision.
Yep.
All right. So make sure that's.
Do you want to approve minutes?
I do want to approve the minutes before we go much farther. So let's do that.
Whenever you're ready.
I move to approve the minutes for both, from both Thursday, May 6th and Thursday, June 10th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And opposed?
Bob, with respect, remotely, you cannot cast a vote on anything.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. I take that back. Forget I'm here.
Feel free to tell us how you feel.
That being said, Bob, I do want to make it clear your opinion matters a
Yes.
great deal. So,
I can always walk down the hill and vote.
That's nice. Yeah, if you get real fired up over something, just come on down.
that's how we'll know how much you care.
All right. I'll put a mask on here.
So anyway, so just let us know if you want to vote. That's fine. It just doesn't count. But please let us know where you stand as we move forward. Good. Okay. In-person meeting.
In-person meeting.
What a gentleman.
Rocket.
It really is. We should be back in the Zoom. Okay. All right. So we'll take folks in order here, just as you're here. So Brittany, why don't you join us?
I did arrive first.
And I've got I've got your plan here on my email, so I'm going to pull that up here.
Thank you for sharing the documents in advance.
Yeah.
I realize it's short notice, and thank you for pulling it together. Would you like to introduce yourselves and talk a little about what you're planning to do? What property are we talking about?
Sure. So my name is Brittany Cobbs, 300 Valley Street, so the old Scottsville pharmacy. And I'm gonna have a bakery that specializes in gourmet cupcakes, cakes, pies, cinnamon rolls, and kind of people will just walk in, everything's on display and box it up as they order. So
Okay.
there we go.
Am I allowed to ask what the business is out of curiosity? What's
Yeah.
the name?
It's baked on the James.
All in one. Great.
Yeah.
I could only say,
Yep.
if the rest of you haven't sampled Brittany's cupcakes, they are outstanding.
Oh, they're good sample.
They look outstanding.
Thank you.
So good.
Yeah, how do we sample?
This has nothing to do. This is totally irregular.
Questionable ethics.
Learn something. You should.
Right.
Yeah.
Small town air.
Yeah.
I got them, so.
Oh,
Through
awesome.
Kathy out.
Oh, okay.
They're
Yeah.
excellent.
Thank
Especially
you.
that strawberry cheesecake. Very good, very
Thank
good. So sorry for my lack of professionalism.
So you got it from a friend, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
The property is the former massage and yoga location here. Larry Barnett sends his regards, consents to all of this work, and is happy to help the tenant in this case. There's a little bit of tenant upfit in order for this business because there are some kitchen renovations underway. An important part of that is exhaust.
Yes.
So you outside here, you can see one. It's a oven ventilation. Is that right? So you sometimes see ventilation hoods like that stacked where the kitchen has a standing fan unit, and sometimes those are concealed on a roof.
No, right in the top of the building next door.
Stack. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And with this being a ground floor location, they can't do a roof mount. And mounting one of those large fans on the side of the building would probably be unsightly as heavy equipment. So they have an option to do it in line where the fan is inside the building and the only thing that shows on the outside is the venting structure.
Yes.
Would you like to say more about that equipment or defer to Mr. Sabetic?
Yeah, I would refer to him.
This is the location that we're talking about towards the back of the building. Above, it looks like there used to be a door here that was bricked in. So this would be a new opening in the wall about above where that doorway was. Mr. Sabetic, you have the floor.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me on tonight. My name is Matt. I own Chesapeake Design Equipment. We are a restaurant design company out of Richmond. We do business all over the states. We're in Charlottesville, Taunton, Lynchburg, Danville, Roanoke. So we do a number of projects from like small, tiny restaurants to, huge country clubs and stuff like that. We've done a handful of bakery things similar to what Brittany is doing. In Richmond, we have to deal with the historical society a lot here. So we're pretty accustomed, with, how things look on the outside, protecting historical buildings, things like that. We've done a handful of projects where we've had to do like, where we're doing stuff on the roof, but it's visible to the city. So we've had to build wooden mock-ups just so people can see it so they can approve it. So when we talked about Brittany, we came out, we looked at the site. She said that, she wanted to be able to make cupcakes. Needs to get an exhaust. So we started looking at that, but there wasn't really any way to vent this without either sticking a mushroom out the side, and there's no way to get to the top. So the best option that is left is what he was just talking about, is an inline fan. So it would be mounted inside the building along the wall, and they do what's called a louver. Well, they'll have the duct that runs from the hood to the exhaust fan, and then it will louver up. And basically what we need to do on the outside of the building is create probably a 20-inch by 20-inch hole, and then it'll fill with a metal grate louver. So that's all you will see is it'll be flat up against the window. I mean, it's the side of the wall. It doesn't protrude at all. It just, see like the open slats. And I sent a picture to Brittany earlier that hopefully she could share with you guys what some of these kind of look like. We would probably do, colors are an option. We'd probably do solid black, just keep it very clean, very simple, unnoticeable at the outside. And I can also get, if you guys would like, I could probably get you some more pictures of existing places where we've done something similar to this, so you can kind of get a good idea of what you're looking at. It's very efficient, it's very clean, it's very simple, and it's probably the best and only way to make this happen, to get a working kitchen in that building.
Mr. Sabetic, I have the Ruskin website up on our screen here. Can you tell, they've got combination, adjustable, acoustical. Can you tell me which tab of these to look at?
So we're probably going to be looking at it's the one. We're probably going to be looking at, if you scroll down a little bit, it's called like a site-proof louver. Will probably be something more like in that range. So it's trying to.
With a solid screen.
Yeah, they'll have multiple levels, solid screen. We'll probably do black because I think that'd probably be the cleanest thing. And we're looking at, when I talked to my hood install guy today, we're looking at probably 20 inches by 20 inches would be the outside penetration. And then the duct would go on the inside of this of the building and run down to the fan, which runs down to the exhaust hood.
So, what is the projection from the brick wall, Matt? How far does it sit out, or is it flush with the wall?
It'll be flush against the wall. It would be no more than like, your window sill treatments and stuff like that. So maybe just an inch, maybe like that. But other than that, it'll be completely flush against the wall. So it doesn't protrude at all.
And then how high is it from the street level?
Did you say how high?
Yes.
I'd have to go back because when we first looked at this, I didn't really the measure. I'm guessing it's going to have to go up probably in between where those two windows are, the lower level windows and the upper ones, because we have to come up from the exhaust hood, which sits, the bottom of the hood will sit 80 inches off the ground. The hood is about 2 feet and it'll come up for that. And then we still need to either mount our fan either horizontally or vertically. So I envision it kind of probably going somewhere in there.
10 feet or so.
Or we come up to, I think it will be up higher than that. I think it possibly in there, or maybe up almost in between those windows up above. I think you're probably right in that ballpark area right in there. If not, it'd have to go somewhere right in there. Because I think obviously we'd like to keep it between the two levels of windows is what I'm guessing.
Is the height all dependent on the equipment itself, or can it be in line with the face of this or the top of this? Is it flexible? Is what I'm asking.
It is a little bit like the hood has to be at a certain height. It needs to be 80 inches off the ground from the bottom of it. So that allows you to walk underneath it. The hood will be 2 feet tall. And then basically up above that is where we have to connect the ducts to the exhaust fan. Now we can turn the exhaust fan on its side, which helps keep that lower, or you could go straight up and down. But sometimes the easiest way to do it is you're coming straight up out of the hood. It goes, you have duct, it would then go into the fan. And then from the top of the fan would go up, and then you'd go out right from there. But we could probably turn it sideways if that allows us to keep the louver on the outside at a lower height. So I'd really like to come back next week, and because I have to go to Charlottesville a couple of days anyways, I'd like to come back, look at the thing, and then I can take some true measurements to give you probably a better idea of where we'd be looking.
I guess I would ask you all, do you think it's important to be in line with the leader, or is it important to be outside of the group?
I think you can make a case for it either way. Initially, I thought it would be good to have a line with the windows on the lower level. And then I thought, well, it's square. And these windows obviously are rectangular. So it's different in shape from that anyway. So given that, and because it projects in such a shallow manner, I'm not sure that it's a problem to have it be out of line. And at 20 by 20, that's not very big.
Very small.
Yeah, it's like,
It's less than 2 by 2.
Yeah.
So not very big.
I don't have.
I don't have any problem with it. I think that, the fact that it's flush with brick, that it wouldn't be, that it's not creating any sort of air vacuum or blowing out on people who are walking by. That's actually what I'm concerned about. And the fact that it's small, I think it's a pretty easy decision to make. I question the black. I guess I would lean more towards actually, well, white would get dirty easily, but I'm just thinking about trim that exists, or like a silver color, aluminum. Yeah.
Are we venting smoke or are we venting hot air?
Hot air. So there will be air coming out of the louvers, obviously. Yeah. So the higher it is, probably better.
Right.
So getting it above those windows, I think might be more, would be preferable. And I sort of felt the same way. I think black, while it feels like that would make it innocuous, I think it might make it stand out more. I'm thinking something, either the white, but even something in that sort of beige or gray, which is sort of more in the bricks, just, this isn't something that, is you or die, but I think with the black, while that initially sounded good to me, you've got the fire escape, that's dark metal. But I'm thinking maybe on the light side.
Yeah.
Does it produce noise that will be audible from street level?
I wouldn't for that.
Matt?
You won't hear any noise out of this. The fan and stuff is on the inside. Sometimes if the fan is on the outside, you would hear noise. With the fan being on the inside, it's not going to produce noise that would be heard on the street level.
Yeah, and I
And
think,
I do think that we could, for you talking about the colors, we could definitely do white. So it may, or an option would be to do white to make it kind of match the trim that's on the windows that are already on that wall. So maybe that would look better.
yeah, I think that's actually a good recommendation. I think it sort of echoes what's already there. I think black would actually stand out more and look a little more out of place. I do have a question, Matt, about sort of the moisture venting there, because it's very close to the brick and the wood sills above. Is there potential for moisture impact on those things?
No, I don't think, especially because so this is just an exhaust hood. It's a Type 2 hood. When you see other hoods like a grease hood, that's where they have like fire suppression stuff like built in like that. Then you would get more of that stuff. But this is straight literally just taking the air that's coming from that oven and removing it. And since she's just doing baking ovens, it's not even that much anyways.
Okay.
So I don't think we have to worry about moisture. There's no grease product coming out of there and that stuff. It's just the air that's being coming from venting from those ovens.
Thank you.
Can I see the picture one more time?
Is there a brick color, Matt?
I don't know. I can ask. I've not done that, but let me ask and see and do a little research.
Great. I think that might be an option too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not to mimic it, but just so that it's less noticeable.
Yeah, the only thing you run into with that is if it looks like you're trying to match it and it doesn't, then it stands out more than it would. Actually, I was hoping to see the picture of the side of the old.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so placement under somebody else's window. I think if it were positioned basically to be between, on the top level, if it were positioned as much as possible, instead of aligning it with one of the top windows, to do it between the two windows, and that's probably what you said at the outset, but you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just so there isn't that feeling, it being right under you, or whoever is up there.
Yes.
I was gonna say. Not terrible. Bob, how do you feel about the discussion so far?
I feel good about having a bakery in town. No, I think this is all good. I must say though, and I don't know if you can correct this, but Barbara and Aaron's sound is really bad.
Let me check my microphone settings just a moment.
Thank you. Everybody else I can hear fine.
I will try to enunciate and speak with greater volume.
Thank you. I'll take note of that.
All right.
Is that working any better, Bob?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting us know.
Yes.
All right. So do we have a COA
Yes.
in place? Okay. And so what's the board's pleasure? Do you want to make a decision tonight or?
Is it possible for us to make the decision requiring an elevational image with where it's precisely drawn?
Mm-hmm.
Just so that we can approve because that's really the only that's the, I guess the biggest issue is like its relationship to the windows, to the street, and having that have some sort of precision.
Matt, it is, you know, a foot up or down irrelevant to you, just a matter of ducting?
Yeah, that doesn't, well, that's fine.
Okay. Producing the drawings of the buildings might be difficult. I don't
Oh,
know.
I don't mean the drawings of the buildings, just having a photograph that's looking directly at,
Instead of this angle view?
yeah, instead of a perspectival view, like looking directly at it so that we know, because it is hard to tell like where those top windows are in relation to where it would be.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my starting point was that angled view from the street.
That's
but
okay.
see if I can
Even if it were just sort of taped
precise.
Yeah,
off
yeah.
for a visual. Because I think if we felt okay about that, the rest of the data seems to be here
Mhm.
for us, and then
Yeah.
there seems to be
Oh, yeah, there you
good
go.
consensus. All right.
I can do this.
Do we have an opening date? And what about signage?
Oh, signage isn't it? Yeah, are you interested in a sign? I'm sure. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So as you look at the top row of windows, it does appear that there's more width between the second and the third than there is between the first and the second,
Yeah.
correct?
So that's actually,
That's a good thing.
yeah.
And to be able to place it then really in alignment with that space,
Mm-hmm.
and that's easily 20 by 20. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
looking down below.
Mm-hmm.
And then would you, if ideally, would you center it between the top of the first row of windows and the sill of the top row of windows? If you
Say
could.
that again, like center.
So center it right there, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well
I'd
done.
actually move it down. Can you move, it is, like, I think I'd center it between the two windows.
Well, yeah, I'd center it between the two windows, but I mean, in terms of where it is that way, but in terms of height, would you raise it to have it be, draw the imaginary line, in other words, between the top of the first bottom row of windows and the top row of windows, so that what he's done.
Can I?
Please.
Yeah.
Matt, is this, no, you're fine. I'm wondering about the ceiling heights though, because this is already doorway height. The first floor is very tall.
Mm.
And these windows are placed higher than normal windows. So
Yeah.
The floor line of the apartment is here. So I think if you vent here, you're going to be venting out of
The next apartment.
bedroom.
So I would do it.
Your height limitation is here.
That's what I'd say. I'd say to get it as even as you can with the top of those first floor windows. Not only because that's probably exactly where it has to go, but it also would probably give the second floor people a little room from the baked goods.
Yeah, so aligning it though with, unlike what we said before, aligning it with the tops
Yep.
of those first floor windows,
Yes.
like that.
Sure.
Yeah. And then filling in the gap between the second floor windows up there.
I do question, like, I'm curious about how much space is between the tops of the first floor windows and the ceiling. And I wonder, I'm curious about how much space Matt needs on the interior.
Right, it was
Like
80
it-
inches for the hood and then a
Yeah,
little bit for
because
the
he
fan to
can't
come out.
he can't butt against the ceiling, I assume.
Right.
So I think we just give a kind of range,
That makes sense.
anywhere between the sills and the top of the windows.
Yes.
Well,
But-
and do you want to establish that x-axis and then give more leeway on the y-axis?
Yes, that's right. So
Yeah.
I think keeping it steady where it is there in between the second and third windows.
Yeah.
And then up and down.
It's gonna be driven by what the requirements are
Yeah.
for.
But as close to level with the height of the top of the window.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
good.
All right, I have it.
I'm comfortable with that.
Great,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm good with that. Does that satisfy? sort of
Yeah.
An elevation?
Mhm.
Okay. The second piece is color though. Do we feel like, we want to give specific direction about color?
Well, I don't see anything that looks like brick. That looks pretty pink to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Barbara, that if we try to match the brick and it doesn't look like brick, it might just look like weird. Like
As
if,
a designer, I would tell you go with contrast color, not try.
yeah,
You'll never match the brick color.
yeah. I mean, I like the idea of white.
I do too.
I think that keeps it in keeping with the other frames that are there.
I think it'll be about the size of half of
Yeah. So I like the idea of going with white.
I do
Say
too.
white then.
Okay. Cool. Is that you comfortable with white?
Shiny. Just so I can imagine the relation to 20 by 20.
Okay.
Well, they're probably, it's probably like about this size.
All right. So I would say that, so
For a little bit
Mhm.
more.
if we are we ready? Are you ready to take action?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess we'll need a motion, but to add these notes to the COA. So we're looking to add the placement of the vent in between the second and third windows on that second floor, and then anywhere between the top and bottom of the sill on the first floor, and then go with color white.
Should have sent you this picture.
I move to approve the COA with the included notes given.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
How do you feel, Bob?
Yes.
Thank you. It didn't count, but it's good to know. All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming and
Thank
meeting with
you.
us this evening, and look forward to baked goods downtown. Good. That seems to be very popular.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks for coming.
Matt, thank you for sharing. I appreciate
You guys are very welcome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Nice job.
Absolutely.
So in the future, you'll have to update them.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Take care.
All right. And are you from the Dollar General?
I'm
For
yeah,
Great. And what was your name?
Mark Harris. with
Mark
Plain
Harris.
Services.
Great.
Welcome back.
I see it.
Landscaper that did the original
You were here before.
design.
Remember you?
It's been right about 2 years.
The updated
Yeah.
design, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the representative from the Dollar General Property Management Company, NC out of Roanoke, we heard from Mr. Derek Garland 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
He's no longer with the company. Is
Wow.
I know, right?
It's amazing.
Times they are changing.
Amazing.
Evidently, it's been like that over the last year.
Yep.
In the last 2 years.
Brian Kilkey is the new point of contact, and he worked real well with me the other day, but had a family emergency just tonight.
Actually, it's Wilkie, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Wilkie. Thank you for coming back in as a local neighbor and representing the plan. But Mr. Wilkie was very responsive to our update about the zoning violation
Mhm.
and does want to get this property improved. I represented what we talked about at our meeting 2 months ago, that we needed to get a landscaping plan approved on this property because it was built with a landscaping plan that's no longer in compliance. And given the choice between restoring the original construction plan and what we saw in 2019, this board actually preferred the 2019 approval.
That's right.
Which you approved, but then was never built.
Mhm.
So Mr. Wilkie said that he would check back in on the pricing with that, but that reapproving that thing seemed like a good idea to him.
Yeah.
So he would like to renew the 2019 COA and proceed with construction. The way they told the story was they had October 2019 approval, and COVID happened before they could plant it in the spring.
So I didn't know what happened.
But it's a good story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was another company, Alliance Property
Mhm.
Management was in charge of this out of Dawsonville, Georgia. And according to them, they got the go-ahead from Dollar General, and then they got told no wait, and then went back, and it got to the point where they actually gave up the management of the properties in this section, whatever district it is, because it said they couldn't deal with them anymore. And that's when they pulled it, told us to pull it in December. So it's the story, it gave you a tale, but it just, and I don't know how many of you here before, but actually the original plan made no sense. It had asphalt where there was plants, and it had on the retainer wall, it said to plant climbing vines on top of the wall. Vines don't climb down. So what we tried to do is come up with two things with the three things really. A low maintenance plan, so that once we got them through the first year, it'd be easy for them to maintain this landscaping the way they do things. Number two, since we can't grow anything up most of the wall to hide it, it was getting some height plants out at the edge of the road to hide the whole parking lot and the wall from there. And number three, the whole plan was based with a lot of pollinators and bee friendly because of the designation of the bee friendly town. So excellent.
I was trying to remember, I thought that there was some planting above the wall. Is that
There's
right?
it's a mess above the wall. The big problem up there are some vines coming down. They're wild, but they're doing the job. And some overhang there. It's going to probably have to be cut at some point. But the big problem they have there is that they only own 5 feet behind that wall. So the overgrowth is coming. You can go up there and clean it out and put everything you want in there, and the neighbor's overgrowth is going to take it over within months. So it's better to work from the bottom of the wall and go that route. So we had some suggestions too. I was going to pass to him because no matter what you do at the front of that building, I've never seen one so messy on the outside. On the side there were all the cart. Evidently they don't have normally they have a cardboard compactor. It compacts all these boxes and bales of them. They evidently don't have it. And all those carts are literally full of empty cardboard boxes out there, just trash. But there's an area, I took pictures today, there's an area right around the back. We could actually put a gate in his privacy fence there, and they can store all of that behind the privacy fence instead of out in the parking lot. And so we're going to make that recommendation also.
Yes.
And then one of the things we had noticed before too that we put in has nothing to do with the landscaping, but with safety issues, is that on the corner of the building toward the wall, there's an opening there and an unused area behind between the building and the wall that's become a hangout for homeless. And we found everything you can imagine trash wise back in there. You're right here in that corner. So our proposal actually come back right there. You see the edge of the building there and the plants there. You see we put in there to have a fence and a gate installed so that it blocks that area off, because it also is an area there where their employees go to smoke, and also where there's a DVD machine there people can go to all hours of the night. And that's actually, I did security for years. That's an ambush point right there. So by putting a fence there, it gets rid of the ambush point. So.
Well, thank you.
This is not part of your plan, I realize that, but I've noticed that there's always a chair left there, and that's where they smoke, and that's sort of like the reality of the site, right? Is there a way to create like a nice bench so that it's not a cheap looking chair, and it can be a space where people can take a break, but it doesn't look.
Well, actually, I would recommend if they're going to do that on the other side of the building, behind the building. Put the gate in where they're going to have the trash kept and everything. Make that an area because it's concrete.
So it's got a back door too.
Yeah, I think there is. I'm going to look at this morning.
I guess I assume it's a lot nicer to be next to the grassy area than to be
With the cardboard.
back.
When they smoke,
Cardboard.
I think it's generally just because it's kind of out of sight from the front where their manager would see them. But that would be my guess. But there's if you see that or not, but behind the building, there's actually a concrete area where they have all the air conditioners and everything. So there's no reason those carts couldn't go back there and be out of sight. So I'm gonna recommend that to him. I actually took pictures of when you approach from Route 6, all the garbage you see there and everything.
Right.
Last year, I had recommended to them coming out to the corner of the building here and put in privacy fencing there. There would be gates that they could open when the truck comes in, but their dumpsters back there. And so if we put gates there, they would just stay open all the time.
Yeah.
So it'd be cheaper for them to go to the back of that loading area where they come out the door in that corner and put that stuff behind the building where it's out of sight. That would also you have a wind tunnel out front here. It would reduce that in the back so the trash isn't blown out and blown around so much too.
Tell about the plant species list here. I recognize some of these, but not all.
Okay, well, the Harbor Bell Nandina, that's a small one. Nandina has a bloom on it that is a pollinator. And it also is low growing and is evergreen. It gets a blush pink color to it in the wintertime, not the harsh red color that some of the others do. The Goldmont false cypress, that's we call it Uncle It, remember that family? That hairy thing, that's what that looks like. It's a right here, it's a chartreuse color. The one that we would put in wouldn't get quite this large. It only gets about 3 foot tall, about 3 foot around, and it keeps its weeping pattern. I was having a hard time finding it. The one we actually do is called King Gold, and it's got a better shape to it. You probably know this as an arborvitae. This is emerald green arborvitae, so it doesn't get humongous, but it gets big enough that that goes back against the wall where we can plant. We have some of those in there. It fits a small space. These are what we had, a few of these out along the road. We thought the last time we thought we were going to be able to interpose these for all the trees along the road, but the deal I had on it fell through. They got sold because everything got stopped. But this is a weeping redbud.
I've never
So it
seen
has a
that.
weeping pattern. It stays low. It has the blooms just like any redbud does in springtime, and then the purple leaves on it. We still do have a few of those in the.
And it only reaches 6 feet?
Yes.
So you could, you can't source it from another.
We're
source.
looking into it, but what happened is we have some in there. We have 3 there. But coming down the front, we had Oklahoma redbuds there, which, because I have to be careful there. I can't get anything much height because of power lines.
Right.
And so, but when we had that offer, I was like, oh, it would be cool just to do these all the way down through here. And so if I come up on another offer like that, it was one of these deals where they were getting too large for the nursery. So they were like, okay, if you take them all, we'll give you a really good deal. Unfortunately, somebody else got the deal. So,
I like the idea of consistency, whether
if
it's,
you go back one,
whether it's that red bud or the other red bud, that there's a kind of consistency
Right.
along.
well, what we would do is if we do intersperse them, we do them every other tree
Alternating.
so that they alternate and make it look right. This is the Virginia. This is a Virginia red cypress. Now this is also what we have designed a few of those in front of the wall. Where we have a very narrow planting space there, and we don't want to overhang the parking lot.
Right.
So we have a few of these, several areas we can plant in front of the wall. So we try to use large or tall, narrow plants to hide the wall as much as possible. And these also are good pollinators, good for birds. They like the evergreens.
You mentioned.
Yeah, no, that right there is, that's the winterberry. Again, great pollinator, also bird feeder. I think we had those down at the far end of the parking lot, down at the bottom. Just a lot of color to them, and they're deciduous, so they're going to lose their leaves in the wintertime. That's why we have them on the backside of the parking lot. But again, early bloomers in the spring for the bees and pollinators. And this is Mr. Poppins. You have to have this guy to get the others to bloom.
Yeah.
That's
That's the problem.
That's the Oklahoma redbud we talked about by the street. And then we have Sergeant's juniper going out on the roadside. And so on the roadside, on that bank there, our plan is, because we want this to be low maintenance and to look nice right from day one, is we're getting rid of the mulch bed. So that whole hillside will be mulched with river rock. So when we go down at the bottom, it's pretty steep. So we go down at the bottom and put large rocks along the curb so that it'll hold the other rock in place. So once we get the plants in place, we'll put those in. But no matter how much maintenance you have, unless you have a really good maintenance program, the rocks usually end up being leaves in there, rot and everything else. Eventually they start looking dirty. By the time that happens, these starlings will have overgrown them. So that front wall will be a wall of Sargent's junipers with the trees.
Cool. That's a nice touch there.
And they won't get overheated by the rocks while.
No, but not at all. As a matter of fact, we found that the only drawback to stone mulching as opposed to natural mulching or wood mulching is that you have to feed the plants more often because they're not getting the natural feed from them, right? Otherwise, it actually, you get a great improvement in plant growth because they're getting warm much earlier in the spring and the warmth is held much later in the fall. So you're actually giving the plants a longer growing season.
They don't cook when it gets to be 105.
No,
And, okay.
No, because these are, if it were granite, it might do a little bit of that, but these are river stone, so they're light colored, so they reflect like they don't absorb it. And what we would do here, a lot of times you think river stone, nice little rounded rocks, we're actually going to use fractured river stone. Has a lot more color to it, but the reason we're using that is the hillside is so steep. We want the jagged edges so we can lock it together.
And the other thing is juniper will grow anywhere, anytime.
Oh, no, we have problems with this.
Really?
Especially if it gets a lot of water. They just don't like water at all. That's something else we talked about today. If you go in there, you probably notice that big ugly box right on the corner that's in the middle of the bed. It's just that the guy we're talking to email today. That is the backflow preventer for their irrigation system. Their irrigation system has not worked for years. It's been destroyed. It's sitting on top of the ground and everything else. And that just needs to come out of there. For some reason, Dollar General, I guess they send the notice to corporate and they get scared. So for years now, every year Dollar General pays one of the local irrigation companies to come in there, repair that backflow preventer, test it, and make it pass. And then it's set there all summer and nobody calls them to winterize it. So it freezes again the next winter or a truck hits it. Then they got to come repair it again. So we sent in the paperwork to go to the county to have us remove the backflow preventer and remove the irrigation system while we're in there and abandon it so that that won't be there any longer. So right now you see it in the plan, but if they agree and remove that, then there's a tree there close to it and it'll just be stone mulch there and we'll get rid of the box. And then,
Is that the last tree on the left there?
yes, you see a little square behind it. Yeah, right there. Okay. So we would remove the box and the ugly concrete pillars around it.
When is the best time of year to do this work?
We would not start this until September.
Okay.
It might behoove the board to order this work be done in less than the typical year.
Well, they've already had time to do it before.
Because it's remedying a violation. And
it has,
fall is the time to do
it has to be done at a certain time.
If the applicant waits too long to do the work, it won't be successful.
I'm comfortable with that.
Can I ask you a question? We talked, last time we talked about the inclusion of a trash can. Is that something that's like included in the plan that they're required to do?
I don't think you guys have the requirements. I'm a landscaper. Well, landscaper.
Right.
So it'd be whether you have something in your ordinances that require that or not. Same thing with the bench. You know, I couldn't require them to put a bench on. You know,
You could just make the suggestion.
So.
My other question is the 2 trees that are in line with the facade. Matt, could you just scroll that up a little bit? Are those the existing trees or are those new?
They're existing trees.
Okay.
Only thing we'd be adding to those beds is a few shrubs and liriopy
Okay.
in those beds, just because liriopy will hold up to the traffic and people shortcut the corners, but it only has to be mowed once a year instead of every other week.
Right. Low maintenance.
So would you say that what you're proposing here, because I can't remember exactly how much or in what way it deviates from what you brought to us the last time?
This is exactly.
It's exactly the
Yeah.
same?
Yeah.
I don't remember so many different diverse plantings, so
It's the same one. I
it's
turned in
exactly,
before.
okay,
And you, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
And you also had in your plan a different type of drainage, I think, coming off the parking lot.
Yeah,
On
down
the
in
south side,
corner
right?
Down here, there's a,
That's right,
down
spillway.
in the bottom corner.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's a drain, and the way they built that is, even if there's no trash in it, the water overruns the curb.
Mhm.
So again, what we did there, we're having a smaller river stone in here for mulching. But in that corner, we put in a spillway with a large river stone, so it doesn't erode away.
Right.
The curb's only 4 inches and it's taking the whole
Everything
lot.
just going over, and then that sides are washing out and everything. I didn't look today. I don't know if the state did any work there when they put the new drain in and all.
Yeah.
But it's still the same problem here. It's just not enough drain there to overtake it or to take it out. So we just designed putting in a stone spillway there that it'll take care of the drainage correctly, but it'll do so in a very more stepped way. So
Yeah.
the stones look nice sitting there.
Cool.
And that would be river stone, large river stone, not wood wrap. So.
Mm.
Okay. I think it all looks good. I mean, it's what we approved 2 years ago. I guess I would want to require them to include a trash can, and possibly a bench, but if it holds up the process, then I don't know that we need to require that.
The
Yeah.
part about the trash can issue, probably the only people who never put anything in it.
Yeah, I'm also not sure we can require that as part of like the landscape thing.
Well, I
I know
think,
with Albemarle County, it's never been part of it unless it was a park type situation.
yeah.
private enterprises.
Right.
I mean, I think, I wonder about that because if, so, like, we're a river town. The trash in that parking lot is awful.
Mhm.
There's overflow when it rains.
Mm.
Any trash that's there is gonna go into a spillway and chances are go into the river.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like there is a place and space for us to advocate for the environmental impact that Dollar General specifically creates with the amount of trash. And I think there's landscaping and then there's hardscaping, which is part of any landscape architectural design. Often trash cans can be a part of the furniture that goes with the hardscaping that, works with the landscape. The issue here is that they've been so slow and there's so many other environmental impacts and visual impacts that are happening right now. That I almost, I
think we can make a strong advocacy for it, but I don't know that it's enforceable. I think
Right.
that's really the issue is, they've been pretty quick to
right.
blow us off, in terms of compliance. So,
Or you could do what I do is maybe say, okay, look, this is the deal. This is, we talked to you before, we noticed these problems, the trash on the side that needs to be corrected, and the trash in the parking lot needs corrected. Here's our recommendation, that you add this to your plan.
Right.
And then it's just a recommendation, it's not
Right.
saying you have to do it.
And you
Right.
seem to be providing your own recommendations as well for how to manage cardboard and all that
All
stuff on
that.
the site too.
Now, how
So,
is that, I'll have weight in that, I don't know, but
Right.
see, my addressing this is saying, okay, I live here.
mhm,
I'm tired of looking at this every time I come down the hill. I'm tired of looking at it, and everybody else is tired of looking at it.
Yeah.
And, this is a good time to correct that.
Yeah.
right.
I think your ordinance is clear that the landscaping requirements are about plants. There's no reference to furniture. So I think it would be a stretch within the ordinance, but as a recommendation, can certainly make it.
let's add it then. I would feel comfortable adding it as part of the recommendation, at least for the trash can.
If you want to get your plan approved, then.
Yeah.
We need to add it in.
Yeah, I would add it as a recommendation.
A please consider, but the plan is already approved without it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're simply renewing, we're revisiting the previously approved plan,
Approved
which was
plan.
never built.
That's
So,
right.
Please carry it forward with our compliments.
Yep. And I think putting a time requirement on it, saying in September, they need to start doing the work.
Yeah, if you put about 3 months on there, just to give me leeway, because
Yeah.
where else is coming in, but
Sure.
we got some other fairly large.
So you could do
we're a
it-
Small company.
Yes, but you could do it as late as December.
Oh, yeah, we could do it all year long. As long as the
Okay.
ground doesn't freeze hard, then we're fine.
Got it.
It's one of the best ones we did, because I mean, sometimes in September, we're still having some pretty hot days.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did a very large job in Crozet this past year, and we didn't lose a single plant.
Mm,
Right.
But now we're finishing up a job over at the Colonnades. We did their landscaping for 22 years, but we gave that up. But we were called back in by a contractor to landscape an area for an addition. And even though he's watering it the way we told him to, we've already lost 2 very large trees.
mm,
Because we just put stuff in June and July, and it just doesn't work.
Too late. to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like we need to put they need to have it complete by next.
I'm good by January 1. I know I could have it in by then.
Yeah.
let's do that. I like that requirement. Have an end date, and then that gives them wiggle room all
The
fall.
beginning date's hard only because depending on the weather,
Right.
Right.
my nursery's not gonna start getting material until the weather's right.
That's right.
One, we certainly don't
Right.
want you planting in the summer, especially this summer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We're having an argument with the contractor now about the trees we lost, and who's gonna pay for them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds good to me. So we're renewing this plan. We're adding a trash can, and I'm saying we're thinking like an industrial size.
Yeah,
one, right?
or ideally something similar to what, or the same as what we have on the street.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would
okay.
recommend in this situation, like one of the trash cans that has a leg that we can actually put in the ground in concrete.
Okay.
So it has a liner they can take out, but the trash can would be in place.
We
I
have
see.
those around the street.
Right.
Yeah. So let's make that specific recommendation, something that can be affixed to the landscaping.
Anchored trash can.
Anchor trash can, yeah,
Order completion before January 1st.
before January 1st.
Did you want to put something in there to recommend that they do move the trash on the side around to the back of the building? Try to make that.
So basically-
give it- Try to give it a little bit, I mean, coming from me,
Yeah.
it's just a contract.
So put your recommendations in here that relates to that.
Coming from me, it's just somebody trying to make more money. You know,
Let-
coming from you guys, it's got a little muscle behind it.
Let's do that then. I think we should add,
That's,
And I can send you, Matt, I can send you these pictures of that trash area if you like.
So
If half
asking,
the residents in town have already sent it to you.
I just take a detour. I don't even go that way anymore. Asking for a trash compactor or asking for a gate to cover it?
Asking that they facilitate moving the trash behind the building
Mm.
instead of
It's
storing it on the side of the building.
Yeah,
so it's
keep it from
outside.
being visible in the entrance
That's right.
corridor. kind of.
Yeah.
And then that opens the door, how they want to do it.
Yep.
that's reasonable for, visible from the entrance.
Right.
corridor.
Is that something we can just make as like part of the plan? Since it's entrance corridor?
These bins weren't shown in the original plan at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah,
reasonable.
you got that X on behind the tractor trailer, and
They said their whole
that's
store,
the dumpster right
right,
there.
that all of their garbage.
Yeah, so like when you come out, right
Right.
by that, there's a fence along the back of that concrete pad there.
Yep.
There's the exit doors right in that corner of the building. So if they put, and then behind the building there is a concreted area where they have all the air conditioning units. So if they just put a door in that, a gate in that privacy fence, or even for that matter, an opening where they can just go through and all this could be stored back. Because the only thing I can figure they're doing is they must have like a local trash service coming in and loading all these boxes up and hauling them away or something.
Yeah.
Because they just got them stuck in the carts that you would normally bring in material are all full of trash.
So the trash service may have an issue with accessibility if they
Should
have to go.
just roll them out of the back.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, like to me, it make more sense to have a bigger dumpster.
Mhm.
Yes,
You
it
know,
would.
Yeah,
have
that's a
it- have
very
it empty
tiny
more often or
dumpster.
something, you know? So. But it's just, that's always been, I mean, you know, I look at this and have a design in mind, I'm like, this design doesn't look
Just
good
do
at all with this over here. You know?
Right.
I know,
So,
I know.
Put lipstick on a pig.
Well,
Right.
that's,
Did you, Matt, did you want me to send you those pictures, or you just want to get something to go? Or how do you want to do that?
If, email them to me, and then I'll send them back out to the team with certificate, okay, as conditions.
Do we need to move to approve anything?
I think so, because the COA expired.
Reissue this.
Before we vote though, Bob, any feedback? Yeah.
No, not really. I think you guys covered everything, as far as I know. I just remember sitting with the dollar store when we were planning the store. I go back that long.
Right.
And we talked about landscaping, of course.
They're not known for taking care of their landscape.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, from what I understand, they were offering $20 for somebody to come and mow that property and clean it up and everything, every other week.
Uh.
And
Pay for it.
yeah, when I told them what I charged them to maintain it, they about crap. So. But they are gonna have to, that would be the other thing you may want to do is put in their rider that they need to submit a maintenance plan for the first year. To make sure they're gonna pay somebody to water this stuff and help it. So otherwise, in 6 months, you're gonna have to have plans.
Mhm.
throwing good money after that.
Mhm.
I know Albemarle County requires that on this commercial site we're doing now. They came in the other day and they said, okay, so who's maintaining this? And I said, we'll turn it over to the contractor. The contractor said, we'll turn it over to the property owner. And the guy said, well, they need to give me a maintenance agreement. They have to show me the maintenance agreement. So I know it's a good thing.
No, that's reasonable. Normally, we're working with the same company, but you're the installer, and that would also be the maintenance company. But if it's not,
Well, he's already asked me.
I need that for my application to be complete.
Right, and he's already asked me, you know, so what would you charge us to maintain this?
Okay. Yeah, referral on maintenance.
And just a heads up to you, the way we're doing this, what we probably do is go in ahead of time and spray everything that's there until it down, so these are roots killed. Before we go in, then we'll be putting fabric down with the old textile fabric, stone on top of fabric. Two reasons, that keeps the weeds from coming back through, and it keeps the rocks from settling into the soil, so everything like it should be.
Mhm.
So at one point, we go ahead, that's just like a serious guy out front.
Yeah.
Right.
Have to expect that.
Cable operates.
That's right.
Sure. Makes sense.
We can approve it now, but when I go and check, okay, is what they built, what they proposed, part of that checklist is, and who's maintaining it.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. So I guess we need a motion and a vote to approve.
I move to reapprove the previously approved plan for the entrance corridor at Dollar General as submitted by Mr. Harris,
With conditions as discussed.
with the conditions that have been set. Is that what you said? Sorry.
Thank you.
I second that.
All in favor
I
Aye.
and opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Look
Thank
forward
you
to
so
see it
much.
come to fruition in the fall.
That'll be exciting.
persist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you would, Zach, just to clean up.
Yeah.
We now have matters from the public.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now we have taken our applicants who are here in the room and the Zoom. And so now we will return to item 2, matters from the public. Are there any matters from the public? I see them.
There
There
were none.
Here's not, we're here on our own. So that we did check. Okay. All right, so from here, we'll just take it in order. So we have the sign permit. The town is the applicant. We're on the spot now. So we're looking at a DMV sign as well as this new town hall sign.
Yes.
Well, the DMV sign we've already seen.
Right, the
I'll pull
DMV
that
sign
out.
is a winner.
Yeah. There's not much
Done.
we can do about that. Look at it.
Nah. I get it.
Raise it a little clearer. That's the
I'll,
DMV sign.
I'll
I get it.
open the note that I sent back up. I was trying to tinker, Burris, the sign company generated the PDF, and then we had discussion, and I didn't get a new file from them.
You sent this. Is that?
I made that. So that was me trying to edit their
Oh.
document. So if there's any slight inaccuracy in that, what you're seeing wasn't made by a professional sign company.
But how is it different? Is it different?
The letters are centered and the letters are blue.
You
The
mean,
letters are centered and the letters are blue here.
Yes, instead of being black and in line
Oh.
elsewhere. Yes,
But this is the one we're
yes,
talking
that's
about
what we're
now.
talking about, yes. So let's see, the last time we looked at this as a committee, we were asking about which logo design we like
Yeah.
better. The town has a more traditional and a more contemporary file that we can use.
Mhm.
So we're using the formal seal.
Right.
And the simple town office text hasn't changed, but it's now a matching blue color as the blue that's in the seal, and the letters are centered on each other instead of being in line to one side or the other. The only other comment that came up was maybe the metal of that sign could mimic the roof line of Victory Hall a little bit. And do like this. And then it would stay a little bit of the same shape as the historic building. That's
Mhm.
just a little cut out of the sheet metal. It still works fine for the hardware. It
Mhm.
would be just a little architectural touch.
I seem to remember, was it you, Bob, who said frame it with a wooden frame? Did I dream that?
No, I do remember.
No. Someone else did that, said that.
it wasn't me.
Laura was the one who offered a few points. It might have been her.
Okay,
Maybe Ron. He was at
Laura?
that meeting too. Ron might have.
yeah.
When was it?
She forwarded, she sent an email with some points,
Oh,
or maybe I
okay.
forwarded.
After the
Forwarded it
town council
along.
work session discussion, Zach had asked that if we bring it up to town council with their work
Oh,
session,
okay.
just to get
Okay.
feedback from them.
All right.
No, I don't know that I like mimicking the profile of the building because I think it will seem arbitrary. I don't know that people will connect the two,
Right.
especially if the sign is metal and it's just the profile.
Okay.
So, and I don't see anything wrong with just keeping it rectangular and simple.
Well,
Okay.
Clean.
Yeah, straightforward, clean. The
The-
blue reflects that blue.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Are you using the PVC that they suggest? What material are you using?
I thought it was going to be a two-sided sheet metal like that.
Okay,
That'll give it some, not highway reflectivity, but a pretty high contrast on the colors for evening visibility.
Mhm.
And a little bit of weight too with basically two pieces of metals. Yeah, hopefully.
It needs to be
and-
strong enough to hold the thing, the heavier thing.
And then not swing too much in the wind when you get, gale force winds coming down
Right.
Valley Street.
Right. That makes sense.
That's really great.
Yeah.
The only other comment that sort of stuck with me was just wording. Laura had mentioned town hall instead of
yes.
town offices.
Oh, yeah, town hall.
The current sign outside says town offices. I don't know if that's,
I've used both.
I don't understand what the issue is.
what's
I-
a town hall?
Do we
So-
want to call it town hall instead of
town offices.
Town hall feels more civic.
More
Maybe.
civic, a little more like local government-y.
Halls are where
Maybe we'd
people
have
gather,
more
and
public
offices are
Right.
in here
where
if it were called
Yeah.
town hall.
Maybe, oh, it's the town hall.
I should go.
I should go there. I bet they have public meetings. Sorry, that joke has now been recorded for all posterity. That's unfortunate.
As well as my compliments on the cupcakes.
Right.
So honestly, yeah, I do think, especially with the last couple of elections, a town hall has become the idea of a forum, a thing. So I guess my traditionalist preference would be to stay with town offices.
Because the town hall is an event, not a place.
Just because, it's taken on its own connotation in that way. I mean, I don't think it would be confusing. It's not anything I'd fall on my sword for. Either way, I'm fine.
I have a thought that I feel equally as like non-committal to, which is if it says town hall and the front of the building says Victory Hall, will we have more people show up downstairs in the theater being confused about where they were supposed
Yeah.
to go?
Yes.
Because it sort of feels like the whole building.
I think you're right about that.
The word hall is already on the wall.
Yeah.
In big letters.
Right.
That's a good point.
I
Victory,
like that.
yeah, Victory Hall does suggest it is a large civic.
All in one building
space.
kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a hall. The town offices are upstairs.
And until I'd ever come to the offices, I'd never been in it, and I really thought that it was, the whole thing was town hall.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
so town offices, I think keeping it separate from,
okay.
that is good. What do you think, Bob?
Town office,
Thank you.
Great.
Town office or town offices?
Oh, jeez.
whatever you guys decide. I didn't hear offices, but town hall is a jazz venue.
It currently says town office. What does it say outside
I
right
think
now?
it says town office right now.
How many offices do we have?
Some days are better than others.
Well, there are technically
Oh, it's-
3
No,
offices.
it's plural down there.
Is it?
It is plural. I think
feel like-
it should be plural.
Yeah,
Town offices.
because it's not just one office. I
That's
mean, we
true.
are a small town, but
There's the administrator, there's the clerk, there's the mayor, there's the conference room, there's offices.
There are rooms.
Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah, let's just
I
stick
like
with
this
what.
sign.
Yeah, then let's
Yeah.
let's go with plural since it's what's down there now. Is that what we're saying?
now
Okay.
we are talking so much about this sign and its design, and you brought it to us several times, but this is not the traditional way of going about signs, right? Like typically, just so I'm clear, typically we like approve a sign as like,
Absolutely, correct.
okay.
Yeah, if a business owner were coming to you with this, you have to respect their sort of decision for what the design that they want to put forward as their logo, as
Okay.
their, yeah.
I'm taking your help on creative input.
Yeah,
where,
which is
Yeah.
a business
obviously
owner's, a
fantastic,
business owner might just say, this is what I want to do. Is
Right.
it appropriate or not?
Right.
And just get it up.
And if it meets the criteria in terms of size and flammability and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
we,
Correct.
as we talked about before, we don't really have a lot of leeway.
A logo would have to be very inappropriate for you to say, that's an inappropriate logo. I want a different image.
Okay.
Right.
okay, great,
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Mhm.
Thank you for helping.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess are we ready to have a motion and action on the sign?
I move to approve the town office says sign with the addition of an S. But making sure that town and office are still, what do you call it? Centrally,
Yes. Got it.
yeah, centered
Centered.
on one another.
Oh, I second, excuse me.
Thank
Did
you.
get a second?
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
All right. And
we're on tonight.
we are
We've got to
good.
do all the movement.
That's good.
If I may, neighbor, how's the standing
It's
sign?
done and sitting in our dining room because the borough signs did one side backwards. So they had to redo it.
no.
Wes and I went to go hang it and I was like,
It's
no.
easy.
It was so disappointing.
So you got it two-sided and
They flipped it, which he gave me some story, which I didn't believe.
Yeah.
I'll be
But it
careful.
looks great now. He
Okay.
fixed it free of charge. It looks great. It looks very professional. And
Maybe we can hang those together one day.
yeah, or we were just gonna hang it next week because we already took down the old sign.
Feel
So
free.
yeah, but if yeah, that'd be great.
One thing I'm just thinking about the town sign as I look at that, should we aim for the same kind of slightly rounded corners, just so that those two signs that are gonna
We
hang,
get those close together.
yeah, are
And,
as
and,
close
the,
in
and the
shape as
holes need to
possible?
line up. So
Right.
I'll probably bring that one to the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
To fit this
This is a
Especially if
big,
ours is gonna be the lower hanging one too, I guess you don't want a sharp corner for any particularly tall people walking
one.
by.
Ours is on top.
Oh, okay.
Well.
I don't know if this matters. Do you want to get the blues to match one another? Can Burris do that?
I bet they can.
I don't.
You don't,
They're
Care.
different corporate
You're-
colors.
you're
Yeah.
different.
I don't think, it doesn't matter if they match.
Okay.
But I think if they don't match, that's fine.
Town blue is
Right.
different from
As
the
long as they
outdoor.
don't clash.
I
Because
guess.
if they clash,
Then it's gonna look
then it
weird.
just looks like we didn't know what we were doing.
I would be more worried about the clashing, my vote here that completely doesn't matter.
Thanks,
If,
Thomas.
no problem. If they,
About the size of it, actually.
I was gonna say if they shared the same background, but I'm not sure with the sort
Uh-huh.
of inverse lettering that we're gonna, or, inverse color scheme that we're
Yeah.
gonna use.
Well, and that's a darker blue, but I don't think it clashes.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't clash, but that's kind of a cobalt, the one on the DMV sign. So
Mhm.
you just don't want to get too far afield, too far afield. The
Yeah.
eye plays a trick. And like you said, with a
Right.
white background, it shouldn't be as much of an issue. I
Right.
just wouldn't want to go way.
It won't be two solid blue fields right next to each other and say those aren't different colors.
Right,
Right.
right.
And it's also important to remember that DMV select sign may not always be on Valley Street.
Mhm.
That's a good point too.
And so eventually the DMV sign
Right, they
might
told us
move.
it needed to be on the building, but if we feel like people know where the DMV
Right.
is, we can move it around
Right.
under the
Just
awning
notice the
or, yeah.
logo
Right.
on the sides.
I do.
It's the
That
first
is-
time I've
And
looked
I
at
just
it,
noticed that it's so similar to the river.
the
Thank
river.
Oh, it is.
goodness.
that we
Yeah.
didn't do the river.
Yeah.
Because that is.
That's a good point, actually, isn't it?
I just noticed that.
I
I don't remember seeing the logo.
Oh,
for
the
Yeah.
road
DMV
logo
before.
for the DMV.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
road.
that's
If we had done
good.
our swirling river thing, this would have been
Nice.
very.
All right, good.
All right. Good catch, everybody. Did we just approve the sign?
You did. yes.
Great. Okay.
So we are on to 4B.
Thank you, Gordon.
All right. So we are now on to 4B, the sign permit for Jones Sign, care of Truist Bank. So who's Truist replacing?
BB&T rebranding.
They
They
merged
are,
with SunTrust and
Yes.
became Truist last year.
Great. More merger.
We seem to have survived the shutdowns that came with that merger. They closed several locations up around
Oh.
Charlottesville,
Oh,
I
really?
mean, all over the place. But
Wow.
Charlottesville lost, I think, 2 BB&Ts, where there was like a SunTrust on the corner of Park and, what is it, High Street,
Mhm.
and BB&T right next to the courthouse 2 blocks away downtown. They got rid of the SunTrust
Wow.
location there.
Right.
So we have survived all of that. We are getting a rebranded Truist. This is a
Alright.
good thing for the town.
but the merger was over a year ago. They're in no hurry to do this work and they're
Uh-huh.
not able to present tonight. So
Okay.
they're happy to move over to old business, but they're not quite ready to present everything yet. The short of it is they're not building new pedestals.
Right.
They're more or less replacing the existing signage and replacing
With the same thing, same size anyway.
Burgundy or maroon with a purple.
Yeah.
Different logo.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So it's, the word bank is going to be somewhere, right? I mean, it's not on the
What's that?
sign. It's
What's
not
that?
part of their new brand,
What's
Truist.
What's a truist?
It's a bank.
Well, but it
Right.
doesn't, I mean.
You're right, it doesn't say it on
It
it.
doesn't
Although
say
the
bank.
BB&T doesn't.
It says.
24-hour
it says-
banking.
It says 24-hour banking.
Oh.
It
underneath
does say that.
I just, first of all, I see it and it looks like it's a sort of a play on trust, which I can understand why, as a
Mhm.
bank, they're wanting to send that message.
Yeah,
But to not have the word bank, so it says drive-through. And
right.
so I guess everybody's, understands drive-through means it's not Starbucks, it's a bank.
Right.
But
you know, I mean, there's nothing we can do about how they've chosen to.
Where does it say drive-through?
Well, the BB&T one
Right
says
here.
24 hours.
That's what they're gonna use
that
the
little
pedestals to
sign.
replace it with
Got
their colorway.
Yeah, yeah, I guess they're just banking on the fact that if you bank there. See what I did?
Yes, I do.
I don't always.
Love a good
yeah.
pun.
There you go.
The more
As
unintentional, the
institutional
better.
That's right.
architecture goes, banks are pretty.
Yeah, I think they're just, I think they're I
Truest.
think they're banking on the fact that if you bank there, you know
What that is.
what that is.
Uh-huh,
If you don't,
yeah,
come to the wrong
well,
place.
Yeah.
it could be a hospital. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
You know,
Yeah, right.
that's
Doctor's
all
office.
beside the point. It's their issue. It's just that it's,
Only at our Scottsville location, they required the word bank under the word truist because they thought.
The townsfolk are easily confused.
we're not. What? I can just hear my father go, 50
That's
years
great.
ago, I can hear my father go.
At our
"What?"
Scottsville location, they made us say truist
I saw
bank.
that.
Yeah.
I don't
Can confirm, yeah.
Well,
Can't confirm.
I'm sure
What's a truist? has
they'll
been said
roll
in the
out their,
office.
their new brand.
Yeah, I guess the only question I have, so that BD&T sign, is that lit internally? Like, does it light up from the inside?
I think it has any.
At night?
Good
illumination.
question.
No.
I feel like it.
Or does it? Because I don't, when I drive into town at night, I don't notice it.
No, I don't think, I was gonna say, I don't think it has any illumination.
So I
think
guess
it
my
has
question
no
would be,
illumination.
is the Truist logo going to be illuminated internally? Are they going to have lights on it? That would be my only question. And if we as a board would have questions about what the internal lighting would be in terms of,
People across the street,
Yep,
well, folks
brilliancy.
across the street have that high
It's-
fence.
it's
I
true.
don't
Well,
think they'll
what-
be bothered by it.
What are our guidelines for internal lighting? Because
has
Albemarle County does not like it. They, in their
our guidelines,
guidelines, they.
I think ours should say something about a certain number of candles.
it's a really ugly
This is called a pylon
Oh,
cabinet,
yes.
which in the, if you're in the
It looks
business.
like a.
It looks like a brand. I mean, it coming from, well, it's kind of interesting because you can look at it two different ways. You know, it's like a T and then a T under it. I guess that's what it is. But then it looks like a half of an H and a half of an H. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
A T
yeah.
and a T under it?
So I don't, it's almost
Like
like.
two sideways T's?
Positive,
It's
negative.
two T's.
That share a stem.
That
basically. You know,
rotate.
It's a mirror image, top to bottom, right, of two keys, kind of.
I'm gonna try
Which
not
can
to.
play-
You know what?
It plays
Like,
with your.
they
Is
turn
the
it-
empty
head.
space a T?
Uh,
Does the empty space makes a
It's
T?
an old
Yes.
woman and a young woman.
Both,
Well,
there's- you get
it's
two
more
different
the
T's. You
pop-
get,
the white space
Oh, I
is
see
the
what-
two T's
You've got-
turned.
you've got a T
Yeah,
going
yeah,
down and a
okay.
T coming up if you look at the navy inside the white border.
Right, yeah, so,
Okay?
yes,
Is
the
that the way you
interior.
saw it first?
Yes, yeah, the
'Cause
That's
that
how I
is
saw it
not
first,
what
but
I
I
saw
just now
first.
realized you
I
have the
saw
two
the
white
two
keys.
H's.
Yeah.
I saw two H
I
hats.
also saw two H's to
Wait,
start.
where is your, oh, I see, no.
The
It
negative
could also be
space.
described as two T's
I
going
think-
that way.
The negative.
I think this is a T.
Yes, I saw that too.
And this is a T.
But I also think the negative space
Yeah,
is
but then
T.
do the negative space
So a T.
and a T.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the whole word.
But to me,
Do they have an R in there?
it looks
Because
like
I got
two
every other letter.
H's. I just think it's a, whoa, it's a real mind game.
T.
Well, they do kind of have an S there.
I was gonna say, right, you can do a U and an S and an
Yeah.
I and the other T. I just can't figure out the R.
Oh, now that's really, boy, that's taking it to another whole level.
I can't wait to meet with these people. Talk about.
Okay.
You,
I think we've got it.
I can't wait for them
Poor
to.
Matt.
listen
Yeah,
to
right.
this.
Come on, guys, let's get with the
it's,
business.
trying to find the lighting. It can be illuminated. If they wanted it to glow, it could, if the whole cabinet had a light in it. But it can't cast a distracting glare.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Or on an adjacent, or on any adjacent property within a residential district. I'll just read the whole thing. Prohibited is an illuminated sign that casts a distracting glare directly or indirectly on any public roadway or on any adjacent property within a residential district, semicolon. is a sign or part thereof outlined with light, or is a sign that contains or consists of a searchlight, beacon, or strobe light in the light. Outlined with light.
So can I ask, what is distracting? Like, how do we define distracting?
Or how do you define glare on the property, right? Like if somebody says, I can see that sign from my bedroom window, and the
Right.
bank says, yes, but the light's not projecting onto your property, like.
Yeah.
Right.
So my hunch is that we wouldn't want an external light shining on it. That sounds prohibited. That sounds like that would fall under the spotlight.
What we've done, Bateau has a good example of a lighted sign where there's a plate and then a light shining up on it, so the bulb doesn't glare at you in any way, but the sign glows.
Yeah. So I guess that's what I'd like to know, what the lighting plan is for this thing.
They have it in the drawings.
They do?
Yeah, it's internal.
Where is it? Oh, it's internal.
Okay, it's on the next page.
On there, because it says conduit for electrical entrance, tube for LEDs. So
So it's going to be an
looks like-
LED sign.
Okay.
Bob, let me share this with you. So you can see.
Okay. So I don't know what the guidance would be for like the.
It says 24 volt, 96 watt principal LED power supply. I don't know what that looks like.
Do we have any other examples in town of internally lit
Truist signs. You mentioned I have a couple Charlottesville locations, yeah?
I don't think they put Truist signs up at any of them yet.
Oh, okay.
At least not the last time I saw them. And I don't think we have any examples of internally illuminated signs in town.
No.
But they're not, as Matt said, they're not prohibited by our ordinance.
Right.
Food Lion has a monument sign with lights shining up
Behind it, yeah.
I don't know if that's something that we required or not from that construction.
I remember hearing that there was some, ability to work with Food Lion on that within the entrance corridor regulations to get something that had more of that monumental feel to it.
Yeah, I guess.
Something we asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want the lighting to be garish. I could see like an LED lighting be kind of distracting coming around the corner, or
Especially
even just
with
being,
blue and white.
yeah, being pretty glaring.
Purple
So
and white, isn't it, or something? I think it's.
It's quite purple.
Yeah.
So that would be good to just sort of like.
We appreciate that you have a
Express
very
them
modern aesthetic, but you're in a historic entrance corridor.
Yeah.
What can you do to work with
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in addition to the requirement that it not be distracting, there might be a certain overall light level.
Yeah.
That's, I keep coming back to that. Planning Commission at their last meeting expressed an interest in getting on lighting ordinance updates, which could include regulations around, turning off the illumination outside of business hours. In this case, with a 24-hour drive-through, I think that's probably not
We
silver bullet.
I do remember looking through our ordinances though and seeing something about candles.
Yeah.
Right. We do have a very kind of rudimentary lighting.
And I don't know if that like applies to this, like if there's an equivalent.
That's more like when I've got a floodlight on my parking lot, how much light am I throwing down and how far does it spread?
Got it.
I feel like we need that language in addition to the wattage and the voltage in our guidelines.
Well,
Because other ARBs have it.
well,
And I think it would be really helpful for us so that we could say, well, that's exceeding the
Too much
guidelines.
light. Yeah.
They are not in any rush, as Matt said, on this, and we're going to move it to old business for next month. Do you want us to do some quick staff work between this month and next in the same fashion that we did on like fences?
well,
We could go to a town like Middleburg and look at-
here's what we
This is
have.
tricky, yeah.
Here's what we have. It says light should be contained on the site and not spill over onto adjacent properties or streets.
Yep.
Light should be shielded, recessed, or flush mounted to eliminate glare, and the light should achieve an incandescent effect.
Okay, so, and so we've done this before with things like outdoor lamps where the color of the light matters,
Mhm.
the
Right.
incandescent effect, where
Right.
if it's glowing like bright white and purple,
Yeah,
that's not the quality of light that you're looking for.
right. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like LEDs don't give warm light.
No, they're blue-white.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, you can get LED lights that aren't, but I think that'd be something we need to like,
It's like soft versus,
yeah.
there are some gradations.
Zach, I want to get that in a minute.
It's not a
What's the
yellow
requirement
light,
there
it's not
for?
Shielded, recessed, or flush mounted to eliminate glare, and the light should achieve an incandescent effect.
I think my thing about a lot of our language is that it's sort of subjective.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And I would really like to have guidance on voltage, wattage,
Yep.
candles.
Yep. Okay.
LED versus non-LED.
Depending on how much it glows, it's the difference between like, okay, it's visible once it's dark, and it's really turning your head as you're
Yeah.
making the curve.
Right.
So of course, I
Yeah.
guess they don't have, do they have any of these signs in place in other places where we could get a sense of what it looks like when it's illuminated, or have they made the full changeover yet?
I haven't seen one of these around yet.
But
I have
there,
not either, no.
but there will be Charlottesville locations, we can assume.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
Yeah,
can get
anything
a-
that was a BB&T or a SunTrust that has not been closed
I see.
will be
a
receiving one of
trust.
these.
And
at
they'll
some
have
point.
to abide by their wattage
Yeah.
and their requirements.
Yeah. So,
That's true, this will go through we'll go through our peer bodies in every other place.
and.
Well, though I think it's fair to expect that they are probably expecting some amount of local modifications as need be. I mean, there are enough places, in downtown Arlington or Alexandria or wherever where you
Oh,
might
yeah,
expect.
I don't mean that it's gonna come out the same in every place, that
Right,
there's
right.
gonna be design review everywhere.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be good for us to have some better language just to talk about lighting, especially as it
Yeah.
relates to this.
Well, I think.
Planning commission agrees.
Yes, planning commission definitely agrees. And it sounds like we can go back on a staff level and have a conversation with them about the need to achieve an incandescent effect with lighting that the proposal here might not achieve.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the starting place, like
Yeah.
see what they come back with. Say this is kind of,
If you want to do an exterior spotlight or something that's more incandescent and a blank,
Yeah.
like what's already there, that would be acceptable. Matt makes a good point. Lighting is much more complicated than fences. We probably can't expect to have that ready to go in a month or anything, but we can
Right.
certainly pull some examples and start the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, there are other ARBs that have guidelines on lighting. And I think you can just kind of pull suggestions from those.
yeah, see what you can, see if it was a Middleburg. That's where we're going. That's the well we've been
That's
at.
what
in the
Middleburg
past.
did.
I like those people.
So this would be looking
They
at
do-
the
they do
sign
good stuff over there.
ordinances for.
Probably have thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably do. All right.
Can we ask them just to tear it down and build a monument sign?
What would a monument sign be?
Like Food Lion where it's on, it's
Yeah.
like pedestal and the sign's on the ground instead of being up on a pylon.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Dollar General.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really believe in like tearing something down that already exists.
Mhm.
But I also think that like these kind of signs are really ugly. And with this kind of lighting coming from them, I would be sort of irritated if I were Nancy or the people who built the tall fence.
Right.
Oh, okay, here's what I got. 24 volts, 7100 Kelvin, that's very light.
Yeah.
Okay.
like 3,000 is the yellowy sort of warm glow that you're looking for. That's about as blue-white
As it gets.
as it gets.
They're wanting clean.
That's right. Modern,
Yeah.
futuristic.
That's not a lot of wattage,
Mm-mm.
but when you put that through an LED, I don't know how much light it makes.
You're right.
We're not giving it in lumens or candles.
No, and that's what the very complicated lighting ordinance that we're looking at has all the stuff that lets you do those calculations.
Yeah, how much light is that is actually kind of hard to do.
Right, because it's not,
Complicated
right, 'cause
question.
it's about the right, because if it's a cooler color, you can go
You can go
higher on the
wattage or
whatever.
something like
Yeah.
that. And then there's also, factors of elevation and shielding and,
Yeah,
Maybe we should visit one.
yeah. Well, let's see what they come back with, just with that language there, and if you can
and I don't
tell
know,
us what
should we just
Middleburg
ask,
does.
Hey, while you're
something
having the
to think
opportunity
about.
to redo the sign, you're the only pedestal sign.
Kind of
in the
interesting since that's
historic
such a
entrance
dangerous
corridor. Would you be
intersection.
interested in?
Yeah.
There's a part of
that's
me
true.
that doesn't
Some money,
mind having a little
Oh, yeah, no,
light
I'm
there,
asking.
to be honest with you.
Mhm.
There've been so many accidents at that
We take this
intersection.
into.
Yeah. Although,
Or we'll move
well, it's not clear that it'll like
Right.
throw that
There you
much
go.
light. It'll just be like,
Right, yeah, no, but it sort of,
shocking.
it sort of
Like half-
alerts you.
Mm,
I mean, if what it does is alert you to the fact of an intersection, I mean, at night, because I think, it's just such a terrible intersection.
Yeah, it's
always been
windy.
dangerous, but.
All right, cool. So we'll sort of punt this. So next time we'll just look at, see if we can scrounge up a lighting ordinance and see what feedback they have.
Yeah.
Now, were they planning to meet with us next time?
Yes, they couldn't today, but
Okay.
they do want to present. So this gives us a little more to discuss to
Cool.
help them prepare.
Nice. Very good.
If it is, it's subtle, because it certainly doesn't jump out at you.
All right. You still with us, Bob?
I am.
Awesome. All right. All right, 385 Harrison Street.
Yes, do have some progress on that one. Let's see, the two enforcement matters that we were looking at over there. The Butlers needed to come back with certificates of appropriateness on two matters at their home, to get these forms right. They have the fence, so we were looking for a certificate of appropriateness and any changes to consider on the fencing.
Mhm.
There's also a roof repair that they did that needs a look at as well.
That they've already done?
Yes. They had degraded shingles that they went ahead and repaired. If it had just been a shingle replacement, that would have been exempt because you're replacing with the same material.
Uh-huh.
They decided to upgrade the material to change, and that's what triggers the substantial alteration.
Is it shingle?
No, it's steel.
Oh.
Standing seam.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we had a good conversation about here are the kinds of things that are, it's good that you repaired the leaky roof, but when it's a change in material, that makes it substantial, and that's what we need to know about.
Mm-hmm. They already knew that, though. Pretty
Yeah.
sure.
What'd you say?
Pretty sure they already know that.
Oh, that the COA was in,
I think you need a COA for a
Yeah.
substantial alteration. I think they already knew that.
What was the response, Matt?
They said they didn't already know that.
Oh. How about that?
Oh, photos. Just sent these photos. Okay. So these are today photos. As you remember, the fence is a forward privacy fence between these two buildings, and the other fence is this low wood picket
Right.
rather than continuing the iron. You see the same thing on this corner of the property. The
Right.
privacy fence continues out to the porch line and then changes here where it picks up the metal.
Mm-hmm.
This had been a row of shrubs originally.
Mm-hmm.
They took the shrubs down, but still wanted the privacy, so the fence went up.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Do you know what the height is on that?
The privacy fence? Offhand, I don't.
What was your question?
The height of the privacy fence portion.
Taller than 6 feet.
I was gonna say, it looks twice the height of
7
the,
to 8.
yeah.
So I see now, the porch has the 2 porches have standing seam, and the structure itself, those are what? Like
Shingles?
asphalt tiles? I mean,
Shingles.
Yeah,
or okay.
It's not slate.
No,
No,
it's
it's not
not
a slate
slate.
roof.
So this was the same material. It's an
And
upgrade, but now it's different.
we did in the, gosh.
Inventory?
Thank you. We did mention that they had moss and lichen growing on the front porch roof.
Mhm.
That was, so they did respond to that.
Yes, they did
Or
solve
they
that.
weren't aware of what the notation was on the inventory because they
Oh,
weren't
because
rated
they're not poor.
No.
Oh.
So they just
Right.
knew they had an issue with their leaky roof, but. So aesthetically and materially, what's the reaction?
Well, it's not consistent. I don't think we would have approved a different material for the porch roofs than the roof of the house.
does the COA for the roof replacement make any mention of continuing with the rest of the roof?
Oh, intent to do more?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any discussion about that.
And so I'm trying to understand what the fence request is then, Matt. Something to the effect of wanting to do 3 feet. When I looked at the COA as it was on the email today, it looked like they were saying that they wanted, were they just restating what they had done?
Yeah, because they didn't submit the COA.
And so we said-
Yeah, this wasn't permitted work, so we're at
Right.
the same place
Okay.
we were with the other on Poplar Springs.
Okay.
Do you want to retroactively permit this? Or do you want to talk about any changes to this construction as completed now?
I believe where we had it before, the last discussion we had about the fence was to permit it, but also to let them know that any further work done on the fence, because it is like incomplete, that if they were to continue it, that they would need a COA for any further work done on the fence.
We also talked about the possibility of, for the sake of at least color consistency, that painting the shorter one black.
True.
It's sort of like, I don't know if that would actually improve the situation. I mean, what's starting to happen is they've got a mismatch of many
Materials across the property.
Right.
Well, I guess the other thing we were also going to mention too is landscaping, right? So if they could put some low shrubs or something along the fences, that would at least sort of mask what's there.
I think that's a requirement in your updated fence regulations, that privacy fences use some kind of vegetative screening. But I might want to go back and look at the timeline on that, both that and the height.
It was built before we did our guidelines.
That's what I was going to say. If it was
Yeah,
built
that's
before
what
we did the
prompted
guidelines,
everything.
then yeah, well, oh gosh. All right, there's one for Jim. If it's built before the guidelines, but without a permit, is it grandfathered
It's
in?
wrong. You were within your rights to.
Yeah, I mean, they did unpermitted work.
Yeah.
So nothing here has been permitted.
Yeah.
So they have no COA for it. So we could ask them to tear the whole thing down.
Right.
Right.
But instead, we were going to suggest do these other things to remediate the situation.
They also got incorrect guidance from me that it was exempt.
Right.
But don't they know better because they had to go through this with the restaurant?
Right.
That is correct, Mr. O'Halloran.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too. And I have to go in a minute. I do.
Do we have any idea when this house was built? What its age is?
GIS would tell us, I think it's 1910 or 1920, somewhere
I
in
was
that
going to
area.
say earlier part of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that we've got examples of other brick houses in the center hall colonial type with
Standing seam.
the standing seam. So it's kind of a, I mean, while it's an attractive kind of roof, and it's certainly that there are other brick houses around, most of them are antebellum. So so that just as a look aesthetically is a little jarring to me from a historic standpoint.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the fact that it's two entirely different materials from the roof of the structure. This is just.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, what I'm becoming irritated with is you know, and this is an old irritation, but like getting out of something because you didn't know, claiming ignorance, you know, like saying, I'm sorry, and then being like,
Yeah, that's just not acceptable.
You know?
in this
Yes, and
situation.
I know we've had problems on outreach. We've made efforts on outreach.
yeah, I mean, they know they need a COA. Mr. O'Halloran brings up that they had to get a COA for the work on the restaurant. They knew that they're out of order because they did a COA. We've been talking to them, you need a COA to do a fence. So you need to come to that. And now we don't know that we need a COA for a roof.
Yeah. It's kind of a mishmash, really, when you look at it.
Yeah. So I'm not really inclined to like approve anything.
Well, what would be the response?
I don't know. Take it off.
Mr.
I don't know. Like
Right.
it really is becoming outrageous. I mean,
Yeah.
like what? Come on.
I'd bring in Mr. Bowling and just say, you know, we've got a little bit of a complicated situation. I don't know. I just think it's kind of strange looking, really.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
We
it's conundrum for real.
fine people for not,
Our ordinance doesn't put a fine structure in place. This isn't a misdemeanor, I don't believe, or anything like that, right? Well, it isn't, okay. I'm
It's a
sorry.
zoning ordinance violation.
Okay. But it doesn't have a financial penalty associated with it, right? Our recourse is just, we can tell you you're in violation of an ordinance and make you fix it. And we can cover the expense of fixing it.
It's the same as the serving the poor condition,
Right.
ordering the work to be done and the work being done. You have continuing ordinance violations every day that the problem persists.
Oh, and so
Once
that
you
does
order-
rack up.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Doing the work without the permit is the ordinance violation. Once you kind of certify that determination, this was done illegally, you need to fix it. You can provide a grace period of you need to fix it by this day, but if it's a continuing problem and a nuisance, then it needs to be remedied at the owner's expense or the penalties apply every day.
I think the main difference here is when we do the condition survey and we say you're in poor condition, it's a zoning violation, we have the immediate list of this is what actions you can take to solve your violation.
When the work is done inappropriately,
Right.
like it doesn't matter what the work is. It's substantial work done without permission, that's illegal.
before they did the fence, did they ask you?
They did. And so the feedback I gave was, I thought the privacy fence would be out of sight. Landscaping out of sight is exempt. So I
Right.
said, that's fine. It's tucked between two buildings. That's okay. The fencing is not out of sight.
Did you give them feedback on the lower fence, on the shorter fence?
I'll go back.
Did you know that they were proposing two different fence, not only heights, but types? So that now what they have are three fencing types visible from both Harrison and Bird.
So what's next?
Right.
That's the question though. What's the next
That's what I was kind of getting at.
change to the house?
The-
So, 'cause
I'm sorry,
I'm
not-
saying,
Right. I
what
see
comes
you're saying.
next?
Right, sure.
I was saying the inventory provides a solution that I think it sounds like from the discussion, you guys have yet to reach on this one.
Well, the inventory.
The inventory just does the status of the building.
addresses, yeah, the structural,
Fix these
you know, the
things.
integrity of the structure
Right.
is
Yeah.
at risk. Well, that's not it. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
they're
building's
making-
fine.
They're strengthening it, but they're,
The building's fine, but they
But
did,
for a notification of violation of zoning ordinance, I mean, you know, a notification that you were in violation of this ordinance by
Yeah.
having unpermitted
I
work.
would
That's
never-
You know, if I were the property owner receiving that, as you receive it if you're in poor condition, the poor condition notification comes with, and these are your steps to remediation.
uh-huh,
You know, I think it would be good if we're talking about making that official notification of a violation, of also providing them with.
oh, I see what you're saying, yes, the
These
same
are-
thing.
Yeah, and this is the solution. And
Yes.
that's where I think, you know, it sounds like what I was saying from the conversation that I'm hearing from you all.
Mhm.
We have not quite reached that state of,
Right.
this is what I would want to see on the roof, and this is what I would want to see on the fence in order to consider these resolved.
Yeah,
So,
I see what you're saying.
right. It seems more difficult to me to provide, to start that timer ticking and tell them you're in violation, you're accumulating fines, do something about it.
Yeah.
If you can't articulate what it is that you want done about it.
They started with the claim of, okay, we're just doing a repair, right, and we're making it better. Okay, but the change is a substantial problem. We
Mhm.
need to know.
So did they contact you that they were gonna do they were gonna do the roof?
The work started with no notice.
Yes, correct.
I see what you're saying.
Work started what?
With no notice.
No, no, it's-
This is my 2020
Right, I
correspondence
see
on
this
the
here.
fence. So
Mhm.
this is what they said. Privacy fence not to pass the wall line. Remaining fence to complete the property border, 3 feet tall black wood. So I knew about the wood.
And 3 feet tall under the old ordinance would have been an exempt fence under 3.5 or 4 feet
Yes,
tall, whatever
yes.
it
So I
was.
had a change in material, but a matching color and short.
Well, shouldn't Mr. Butler be here tonight or no?
Yes, I requested Mrs. Butler's attendance. Mr. Butler is working.
Right, okay.
Scroll that up again, Matt, so I can see again what the things were. Black wood to aesthetically match the existing fencing. Remaining fence to complete the property border may be 3 feet tall. So they did say it was going to be wood instead of being wrought iron,
Yes.
which is what was in place.
Mhm.
They didn't specify the height of the privacy fence.
Can you show us the images of the privacy fence?
Um,
Because I think they followed that. I think it's within line of, yeah, the porch.
Except our original fencing guidelines, were they not 5 feet?
Did we have fencing guidelines?
There,
before we
there was a
updated
general
them?
fencing guideline, yes.
There was, yes.
And it was 5 feet, which is, but what complicates this is that then we immediately on the heels of this
Mm.
got the fellows across the street in the yellow house who found out that stock fencing
Comes in
came
6-foot
at
section.
6 feet
Right.
instead
Right.
of 5. And
Yeah.
so that was already in the works and in violation.
Right, well, yes,
So it's like this.
yeah,
It seems to me, based on the communication, that that we can say, or how do I say this? That they paint it black. I mean, it being the least amount
yes,
that
I
it
think that's
gets
right.
painted black.
I think that's right. And I think we're in a slightly different position with the fence too, because Matt authorized the work. Now granted, they did it
Right.
without a COA and they needed to, but I think kind of falls on us that the work
Yeah.
went. Yeah, and so I think there's not, and so I think our previous consensus about this fence is there's not a whole lot to do there.
Right.
except for try to like, I think painting it black, especially what's in that email.
But wait,
So-
would you have just the picket fence be black, or would you do the privacy fence as well?
Sort
Because
of
then you're
thing,
gonna
like-
have a two-tone,
3 style.
black wrapping around the front, and then you'd have very visible stockade or board fence
Mhm.
in that tan.
Yeah.
Can you show, how much space is between the privacy fence and the house, their house?
It's a narrow driveways with, like slightly wider than a car, but really not by much.
Because we also could require that there is some vegetative addition. But I don't know how much that would help the issue.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, I kind of think it all just gets painted black, so there's at least consistency of color.
We have learned tonight that vines grow up. So we could do some vine work. Vines could be a solution.
Well, I think over time, if you have vines growing on wood, the wood starts to
And then they can replace it with a wrought iron.
deteriorate.
It's the long game. It's the long
Uh-huh.
view. It's
Strategy.
the long view strategy here.
This is one where I don't think the GIS is right. The property line comes right up against the side of the house. The GIS is right, the fence is encroaching.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
GIS might
Right.
I want that.
Is that,
They probably had a survey done when they bought the house.
I'm sure
so I
they
would
did.
trust
more
the-
likely this.
are you sure?
Her
No,
father's.
but-
Oh, that's true.
I'm sure a survey was done. Yeah.
This
Sir.
website has a big disclaimer on it.
Yeah. And they will remove stuff if it is encroaching.
Upset about the roof.
For sure. Well, the roof is just such a glaring, I mean, that's decidedly unpermitted, didn't talk to the town office at all, and is decidedly something we would not have approved in that way. We would not have approved 2 different styles of roofs.
Might have said do the whole thing if you're gonna do it.
Yes, maybe. But likely, to Barbara's point, we would have looked
Right.
at other similar homes and said, well, standing seam doesn't really do with that colonial style. And
Right.
we're certainly not going to do 2 different styles of roofing on the house.
And while I can appreciate that leaky roofs are, a major problem over a porch, it's not quite as urgent in terms of needing to be done immediately without any consultation. I
Right.
mean, that may seem like a minor point, but certainly when you're going to undertake to do something, and you've already had conversations with the ARB on other fronts, they were just in direct violation and they knew they were.
I think the big question I have here is just what's the plan for the rest?
What's the what?
What's the plan for the rest? Just purely from a point of view, looking at this application. I think from the staff work to try to make their lives easier, it might make sense to go back to them and say, a COA is good for a year. Do you intend to live with, 2 different kinds of roofs, or do you think that you're going, is this all one project that might get completed within a year? Let's go ahead and talk about it all right now.
That's an important question.
Yeah.
Instead of, ordering restoration of the shingle and then they want to do the core of the roof and standing seam.
I have
in
never
6
seen a
months.
house that, lives forever with 2 different materials like this. So, if I had received this before the work was done, my first inclination would be to ask.
Where's phase 2?
Right, yeah, where's phase 2? Do you intend to do the rest of the roof?
Mhm.
And, we haven't really moved into this space. I know that the regs for the HOD talk about not doing major changes to landscaping that alter significantly what has been in place. Well, clearly those front trees had to come down for, I don't know what it was, the electric lines or whatever, they came down.
Trees were pretty unhealthy.
It was an insurance thing too, I believe. I remember hearing that as part of the when the house was on the market. That
Okay.
was an issue prospective buyers were having, was the trees creating an insurance liability.
because they were unhealthy and they
The way they had
could
been
come
groomed
down.
towards the house by the
Okay.
power company. and all that.
So I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
my point there is, what if any latitude do we have with regard to the suggestion that some landscaping replacement, some, addition of trees or something in that front yard? Because Matt, to your point, you were under the impression that when you gave the verbal okay, that privacy fence would be not visible, which clearly it is
Oh.
because
Well,
of
no,
the
his
plantings.
language is actually that it's in line, that it doesn't surpass the line of the house.
Right, but what he said at the beginning of the session was there were other plantings there that would have obscured that privacy fence. And
This is what it looked like when the application came in.
I don't think that one scares privacy.
No, I don't think the big trees don't make a big difference on the privacy fence.
Right, but even the shrubs.
So that we knew the shrubs were coming out, the fence was going in this location.
So they also ripped out the shrubs.
so the shrubs were theirs to rip out, I guess, or did they get the permission of the other people? It looks like the shrubs are on the other people's property.
You go back.
Huh.
Because that whole,
Well, they have some amount of wrought iron coming down, don't they? Or does the wrought iron stop right there?
I guess it stops there. I never thought it did, but it makes sense that it
Oh, no,
does
you're right,
because they
okay.
had a shrub for a hedge.
Yeah.
So they take out all the soft
So they took out,
in addition to the trees having come down. So that was a major, I would call that a significant change in the landscaping
Sure.
that they undertook, again, without a COA. I mean, it all got kind of mushed together.
I'd be very curious to know how they got those shrubs out of there. If they did have an agreement with the property owner next door,
Are they gone or are they on the other side of the fence?
looks like they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, from the first photo.
Because if they had come to us, oh boy, we're having a good time now. So if they had come to us about the fence, we probably would have been like, what's wrong with the shrubs?
Yeah.
Because I mean, a shrub
Especially-
provides just as much a barrier as that
Right.
low fence does.
Especially there in the front.
Yeah.
Because that's what had been existing.
The landscaping plan language is one of the gray areas we
Yeah.
have in the ordinance.
Yeah.
And as you'll recall, the house across.
It is, and
Third Street-
and frankly, I don't know if we would have had a leg to stand on much in terms
Right.
of like what you do with your landscape, because we
So,
kind of don't.
Well, and the house across the street did a fairly large landscaping plan.
Right.
You know.
I think
that didn't come
where it would have
forward.
been relevant is if they were talking about building a fence
Mhm.
and ripping out the shrubs. I think we then probably would have
Well, I think-
entertained the shrubs in relation to the
Right, and
the
I can't
construction of
remember
the
which
fence.
came first, but with the trees gone and the hedge gone, you in effect are removing any and all
Yeah,
growth
yes.
that softens the look of that, that whole corner
Yep.
in the structure.
Yep.
Now, help me for a minute here. Stay with the picture, because am I seeing then to the left of the porch, when you're getting over to Bird Street, that's still the wrought iron?
Yep.
And that continues to just the corner where it borders the Presbyterian Church's property.
That one actually
Yeah.
does turn the corner, which is why I thought the one in the front maybe did too.
The-
The one in the
yeah.
back turns the corner and comes down, maybe
At the
two
very
sections
least,
of
they
fence.
should have turned the
Yeah.
corner with a wrought iron fence on the other side. You know, I could have even,
If-
if that had been wrought iron, even with taking out the shrubs, and then they had their barricade fence,
Mhm.
that would have been more
More agreeable.
aesthetic, well, it would
yeah.
just have been more aesthetically consistent.
Yeah.
For the
Well, and then
forefront.
how do we make the argument for them only doing wrought iron in front and not the back?
A primary facade.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, when in the back of the house, it's really not that visible, and at least everything's the same height. I mean, that's the other
Right.
thing, you're changing material, you're changing height, you're changing color.
Tyler pointed out it's also backwards from the way that
Yes,
fences usually go.
fences are supposed to be installed so that the part we're looking at is the interior of your fence, and you give the neighbors the appropriate, clean
Look,
look
yeah, yeah.
facing
that's what-
outward.
That's what,
Who did the,
So both sides of that. Oh, wow. Yeah.
oh, we did it there too.
so I gotta,
All right, I think we say, hey, that stretch has to go. Structural steel management up here can fashion a replacement on the wrought iron. Let's wrap it around. Paint the barricade stockade fence black. And we're good to go on the fence. That's just my position right now. That's how I look at it.
Do we want to have them turn around the back fence?
I don't, honestly, I'm sure the church won't put up a fight, and I don't think they care, honestly. I think that's the least of it. I think that's.
All right, I agree with Barbara about that.
That would probably be the
Having a wrought iron.
least obtrusive, it would be the least, what do you want to call it? We're not trying to be punitive, but we're looking here at a property that's got so many different materials, colors, styles happening, that we just want to try to get back to what made it a handsome property in the historic
And
overlay.
the board and the town council can overrule my statements that your zoning administrator erred and you're correctly applying your ordinance.
I see.
That doesn't invalidate your action.
Well, I think as Barbara said, we're not like, we're being, like it's responding to that, but it's being the least punitive.
Yeah, well, I think the standard should be reasonable. Is it reasonable? And I think in the absence of following procedure, which has only been reaffirmed by the action taking with the roof,
Yeah,
we're talking about meeting us halfway on what the regulations have been and what they were aware of the need for changes. So. But, I mean, the line has to be drawn, because if not, again, I wasn't being facetious when I said, what's the next change that's going to take place? Because, that is going to result in yet another precedent being set.
Yep.
And that's, again, what we're talking about.
yeah. And is there a way to sort of, like, refer to what we're saying to them in either a letter or a conversation, saying that, like, this is a reasonable response, and we, like, the issue is really that there's so many materials, so many colors, and we're concerned about the next move.
That's very well said. I think the elements of this recording will be my
Okay.
this is explaining why it's important, what your proposed remedy is, and how we got here. So I can just still listen to a memo if I need to serve it, but referring to this recording is the easiest way of how did the board arrive at this decision.
Yeah.
I would also just add, you have no particular urgency on approving either of these COAs, and you still have not had a chance to actually discuss in person with the applicant. So if you want to have that conversation in person instead of doing it in correspondence, you could leverage the COAs that are in front of you here to
And that really is
ask
the
them to
process
come in and have that conversation.
That's right.
Exactly.
You have the applications here
process.
now. You don't have to act approving or rejecting them right now.
No, I think the way to do it would be to communicate via letter or conversation what we have discussed tonight, and then say the board needs you to come to a meeting so that we can address just what I've told you they said.
Yep.
I think that would be helpful to front load it.
Okay.
with as much as possible. And that's just the fence. So here, I mean, this is really just so egregious.
Disappointing.
Yeah. Really just so blatantly.
I'll feel comfortable speaking up for Tyler because I have it in writing. He likes the material.
He likes the new material.
He says it doesn't look bad.
I don't know about.
What does he think about the fact that it's different from the main structure?
Well, that's the only thing I have in writing from him, so I'll stop speaking for him there.
Yeah.
Where is Tyler? I haven't seen him in a while.
I'm not sure where, but I got a message from him earlier this evening that he wasn't going to be able to join us tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, ignoring the, I don't know that I don't think we can ignore the historic significance. However, in responding to Tyler's sentence, the materiality is clean, and there's something nice about that. But the issue is not that. The issue is that the roof does not relate to the historic significance and design of the house.
Right.
And we don't even have to go that far because the real point is that they made a major change without submitting a COA.
Right.
Well, I think
Again.
they need to know why I think they need to understand the significance, because I feel like what's happening here is that there is a lack of understanding of the significance of design decisions.
And what a substantial alteration is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Simple repair is exempt. Changing materials is always substantial.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they probably know that because we spoke to the property owner of this place when it related to colors and paint on the front of
Do
its
we talk
restaurant.
about the historic significance of
Oh,
those
yes.
colors?
Well, we decidedly did.
Yes.
We
that's what
decidedly did.
Oh,
I think
okay.
you were actually.
raised the
That was my first meeting.
hackles.
Yeah, you were. So
I
I'm
had
surprised
no-
you don't remember it better.
Oh, I remember it. I just don't remember the conversation about historic significance.
Yeah, because we talked about, yes, I remember colors being
We
a part
pointed
of
to
that.
the appropriate palettes for
Yep.
different
We definitely did that.
eras of structures.
Okay.
Definitely did that.
Okay, so then
Provided
disregard what I said.
alternatives. Provided alternatives, met with them separately.
And these are longtime Scottsville residents. You know?
Yeah.
Who have- I mean, and I guess that shouldn't maybe come into the conversation about assuming what people know or not, but you know, I mean, you know, these people have been around.
It's just disappointing.
Well, good luck, because I remember how warm he got when we suggested colors for the restaurant, and all we were doing was trying to, you know, give him a hand. And he got very upset, and I thought he was going to come off the chair. He was so upset. He finally calmed down, but I wonder how this is going to go over.
Be contested, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess in our communication, we're talking about following the process, describing why it's an issue, right? Substantial alteration, unpermitted. And then next steps. And I don't even know if we need to come up with that meeting with them in person. I think that's something else we can decide at a
Well,
later date
yeah.
too, you know?
I mean, I think in person is the strength of that is explaining the validity of how to move forward, like the process and how to move forward. I think I'm leaning towards all of this being in writing,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that number one, they need it in writing in order to refer to it. And we need it in writing for, I think, legal reasons. But I also think that there is something to be said for having something in writing with like conflicting opinions and characters. And so I think it's better to put it all in writing first. And if they have any questions, we could talk that in the meeting.
It's a good idea.
I don't think we should require them to show up. I think it's just saying, this is what's been done incorrectly. This is how you need to move forward. If you have questions, you can come to the meeting. Otherwise, you need to move on this.
So you are, is there a motion to act on these applications tonight? Or do you want to keep it at old business and communicate what we've done, what we've discussed here tonight?
I'd like to keep it as old business. I'd also like to have Tyler here. And perhaps even Bob in person.
Yeah, I'll be there next time.
Okay, before we take any action on this.
I hope you feel better soon, Bob.
Yeah. So we can convey the conversation, but maybe not solutions, since we haven't voted on a COA and what would, be required to complete that and satisfy it.
Summarize the discussion.
Yeah.
Refer them to the record.
Right.
Give me a minute sooner than later.
Right. Yeah. Put in writing exactly, what the violations were and the significance of them and the need, the validity of the ordinance and the need to participate and all of that.
Even under the fence guidelines that we have at the time. And here's the history of working with the property owners. Change in material is substantial.
Yep.
Well, since part of our process requires that people do come to talk to us, and that has not taken place, I'm somewhat reticent about putting into words and submitting in letter form the array of issues that we've talked about. When what we're really in agreement is that, particularly where the roof is concerned, just complete disregard for what is understood to be. You make a significant change. You produce a COA.
Right.
Producing a COA means going to the ARB with materials, colors, etc. That's what we expect of everybody else. That's what we've been enforcing with everybody else. The Methodist Church,
Mr. Meeks.
Mr. Meeks. And so making these kinds of exceptions, as far as I'm concerned, only continues to keep the gate open. And I just feel like, that's just inviting more misery down the road. And whether it's just an attitude of nobody's going to, town's not going to tell me what to do, or whether it's just I don't really want to have to go through all that hassle. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
I'm not judging or assigning judgment. I'm saying that the facts are the facts. And knowledge about the facts and the process is well understood. Having come to us before,
right,
knowing about whatever tension there was around the fence, not completely following through on what was being discussed with that, and that's a hearsay issue, but then now with the roof changes. I just feel like we're at a juncture where if we expect people to come and talk to us and we can have reasonable conversations, and we will be, understanding and reasonable people, but we cannot continue to create exceptions and passes for people who refuse to go by the rules. So I guess I can't I can't agree with yet another pass.
Mhm.
And I feel like if there's earnestness in having understanding between the ARB, the town, and themselves with regard to their property, which is placed at such a prominent place in the
Mhm.
historic overlay district, that they need to be represented in person.
Yeah.
I understand the conflict with work at night. I was hopeful that Jamie could be here, but she's not. So we're all here.
Yep. And I think to remain consistent to our COA process, we're not going to approve a COA of any kind until we meet with the property owner.
We've said that before.
Well, that's
Right.
how I feel.
And I think,
I agree with you, Barbara, by the way, completely. It's been the dilemma of the ARB since I've been in this town 20 years almost. And it's, I mean, your conversation just now, which was fairly eloquent, by the way. I've heard that before, and I don't know what we do. I mean, we're the bad guys. And, you know, there are rules, and I don't know where to go. I mean, it's just, I totally agree with you, though. It's just so frustrating.
well, in part, you know, we are doing it this year, especially as it relates to poor condition properties, which we'll come to momentarily. Like, we're going to enforce this, you know, we're going to enforce, you know, if the work hasn't been done, we're going to pick a case and move forward, you know, to enforce our ordinance. Because that's been the real issue of the ARB. It seems that the ordinance has not been enforced, or when it has, the town council, in the one instance when it was enforced, the town council, what's the word I'm looking for?
Didn't support the ARB.
Didn't support the ARB, yeah.
Yeah,
So
would
it's
override it.
these decisions.
The only court action in my tenure was initiated by the county.
Right.
They were the one bringing
Right.
charges, and we also had business prosecuting them.
So I think that's part of the issue, right? And I think we as an ARB are going to sort of lead the charge with council's support to actually start enforcing our ordinance on at least the poor condition properties. And I think that's in part why it hasn't been taken seriously. You know, on the flip side, we have gained some positive traction, you know, I think with property owners and our process. So I think it's like a little bit of both. But I definitely think we're not going to take action on these until we meet with the one way or the other, right? Making any decision about the COA and what we want them to do here until we meet with them. However, I do think that they should be prepped with our comments thus far, so that they don't come in here being like, oh, what are we going to talk about? And then we tell them all the things. I think it'd be good for them to know what they're going to have to respond to when they are here, so we're not rehashing what we've already discussed a couple times now.
So you don't think that they would anticipate that there would be a question about the fact that they introduced a whole new material on their roof? You don't think that they wouldn't
I don't think
anticipate
it
that?
matters.
Yeah, I don't know what they would anticipate. I
Right.
mean, given
I think we can't make any assumptions.
I don't want to assume anything. And even if they do, I want them to at least know what we know.
Yeah.
I want them to know where we're at. So
But that's not a conversation. I think if we come from a good place of reasonableness, I think that it's unfair to assume that the ARB is, it had the reputation of being at times unduly strict and you know, unyielding. It had that reputation at times. But I think when you look at the kind of leniency we've extended, you know, I've only been on this board now for almost 3 years, but there's been a lot of leniency. When people show good faith, they submit a COA, they come here, they're given time. They get to renew their COA. We don't impress upon them any kind, or haven't in the past, fines, except for the Albemarle County bringing its thing. So we've been lenient. There's not been an unreasonableness out of this body. So what we should expect is reasonableness in return. That there be a conversation, that it simply be, so again, this is what the ARB expects, but then you know that because you came when you wanted to do your restaurant.
Right.
And then you got this house and you know that there were, you know, questions and issues around fencing. You put up your fencing.
now we've got roof issues and
Mhm.
you've gone ahead and done what you wanted to do
Yeah.
without the conversation. We're really hard pressed to understand why there isn't a simple regard and respect for the process, because we're struggling here with a precedent
Right.
that's being consistently set. And it's not for the good of town. It does not serve the town well.
Right.
And it does not serve your neighbors or your fellow citizens well.
So how should we communicate?
That we need to have, that the COA process requires
A meeting.
that applicants come and present their reasons for why they are doing or want to do what they're going to do.
Just simply as that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the most important thing for me is that they understand that nothing's going to happen with their COAs until they're here. Right? That no action will be taken by this body one way or the other until they're here.
Exactly, because if we do it that way, then we are breaking
Yes,
what we've
for sure. Yeah.
what we've done with everybody else, which is we're not going to act on this tonight until you come back.
And so if it's, just explaining what we ask of everybody else, I don't know.
But they've already completed the work, right?
Yeah.
To appear
I
results.
mean, that's,
Yeah.
water has already gone over the dam or the bridge or whatever it is.
Well, it's the same thing as the church fence, that they
Right.
did a retroactive COA and had to show up for that.
And they've taken basically most of the fence down.
Yeah, the
I mean, they've left the posts up, but that's it.
Right.
Right, because that's
Go
what we
Yeah.
agreed on.
And we
Right.
approved new work.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
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 Anyway, guys, it's getting late.
You said they're start on that
Yeah.
soon.
Right.
Good.
Well, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't mind going on record as being somebody who's taking an exception to the decision of the rest. I feel strongly that if our process requires that you arrive in person, that you bring materials. When I think of all the people that have come here. and
I don't think
table-
you're taking exception. I don't think
No.
anyone's in disagreement with you. I think the only thing that I'm suggesting is that in addition to saying all of those things, we simply also include our thinking about the issues at play here.
But
We can say less
see,
than
that's
that,
making an
but
assumption. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear
You
what
want
their
to go
reason.
through the process, just like we do with everyone.
Exactly, and I
Okay.
want to
And
hear
that
their
would be an
rationales.
exception.
And if their
Right.
rationales are, well, we like the way it looks, we just decided to do it. And then we can take that opportunity to say,
Right,
but,
okay.
that isn't, we'd like to think that since you've gone through it before. And since it isn't the
Mhm.
way it works, let's talk about how it could work. Let's
Mhm.
talk about what remedy could satisfy you. Again, reasonableness.
right.
First year law school, what would the reasonable man do
Right.
or woman?
Yeah.
What would the reasonable person do? And we need to be reasonable.
Mhm.
They need to be reasonable. So,
Great, I think that's a great way to move forward.
Yeah. So the same thing. Continue to request their attendance for unpermitted work that we need to
And
talk
they
to them about.
because meanwhile, the COAs aren't approved, even though the work's been done.
Right. Well, but I also think it means we can also take other action. Like I don't want to make an enforcement issue out of it until we talk with them about it either.
Mhm.
I think that's also crucial.
And I think we then decide if there's continued lack of presence,
Mhm.
then that has to take us into a different realm.
Sure. The
Well-
failure to
And-
appear part.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that is where we are right now.
Mhm.
If there's continued lack of presence and, no attempt at modification of what was done, or a new COA that says we're going to also change the roofing on the top of the house or
Mhm.
something, I don't know, some
Mhm.
other attempt at you know, limiting the numbers of materials and looks and everything else, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly the plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Just so very disappointing. Frustrating. It's really frustrating. Frustrating word. You don't have to put that in the minutes, Thomas. If you don't worry.
Most of what I said, Thomas, but I haven't. That's.
Don't worry, it's on
I'm
YouTube. The
not-
video record will all be on YouTube. That's right.
Actually, I thought it was really well articulated,
Yes.
and I hope you just repeat that very thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Historic district violations, multiple poor condition properties. I don't have the list of names from last time, but I know we were dealing with Ward.
Yes, I don't have much new on the others. We have
Do you have the running log that you can put up there?
the word trust with 410 Main.
I think it's 480. Yeah.
Bob, I'll share this up and make some notes if I've got progress on the okay.
Thank you.
Yes. No further conversation here on Warren Street. Look up settlement attorney contact. That's
the demo.
that's still true.
Okay.
The property has not sold. It's been a long time. So I'm hoping that whatever air estate issues there were are now resolved after a couple of years. We heard from their attorney. We found out who their attorney was at one point.
Yes, I can pull that out in minutes.
That's the back. It's finding out who's in charge and what the status of it is. Oh, I tinted these a little bit blue when we had some COA resolution on them. No response from anyone in the Marshall family on these. That certainly feels never to me at this point. Mr. McGurn, I've kept in touch with. He had notice of this meeting here this month as well as last month. The last thing that I got from him was in May that he was
That's right.
ordering siding to fix the siding and didn't have a COA yet on the work.
Okay. Would it be possible to follow up with him?
Yes, given the order on the siding, we need the COA before the siding.
Because his plan was because we should approve because he wants to box in the window, right?
Before he does whatever he's planning to do with the siding he's ordered.
That's right.
We should get that approved.
Yep.
This is adjacent to the 385 house.
Right.
Speaking of consistency. Marshall property, neighbor's property is approved, Marshall family property. The Scott Ward conversation relates to the sale of one house, which he says will help him improve the other on Main Street. In June, he said that a COA was pending. I've not heard anything else since June.
Because we had a list of repairs.
He did.
I think we did. We received an email maybe from his wife.
Email sent June 10th.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we discussed that at the June meeting, but we hadn't turned that into a COA.
Right.
So I need to go back on that.
Yeah.
And one of the issues on that was the interest in their potentially changing out the shingles.
That's right.
To siding,
Mm-hmm.
which I raised as a concern from an ARD standpoint,
Keeping-
HRD standpoint.
Mhm.
Keeping the shingles.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if we can, so for each of these follow-ups, just specifically invite them to our August meeting. Yeah.
For August 3rd. Yeah, it seems timely for those.
Yeah, just wanting to make sure that he doesn't go ahead and act on thinking that that's,
Good enough as is.
that making that kind of an alteration is going to be.
Right.
Right.
Same thing for McGurn on Harrison Street.
Yep.
Closing in a window is substantial.
It is.
Just fixing the
Yeah.
with siding isn't good enough.
Yep.
The COA needs to happen before the work's done.
Okay. So go up to the bus depot. There's been some good progress there. they've like redone the doors and the glass is done,
Yeah,
the frames
yeah.
are done.
There was a lot of activity.
I don't know if we have a COA for that though.
No, he quickly did some repairs.
Yeah.
We talked about those repairs.
Okay.
We talked a little bit more about lighting.
Yes.
No, we never turned it into a COA. He
Well,
repaired a couple.
He wanted to get out of the poor status.
Right.
So he
And so he
made,
made repairs to get out of the poorly rated
And
status.
And he was just recreating what existed.
That's
right?
also true. Yeah.
So he doesn't need a COA,
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
Does he? I don't think so.
not if it's just recreating.
Yeah, if
what
it's
existed.
recreating what was there, then
have the poor condition issues been resolved, and it's still a construction site. that
It is.
Needs
It
a
is.
further COA.
it is probably
Is it stable now?
I think so, because the windows have been fixed, the frames have been fixed, and the doors have been fixed.
It's enclosed.
It's enclosed. It's enclosed. So that one, yeah, I think it's been resolved.
Congratulations, board.
Yay.
There's one.
This,
Nailed it.
The other.
Oh, you're really full on tonight.
The other ward property has closed. I don't know what conversation happened in the sale of like there was enforcement action pending on this property when it sold. So I don't know what the new owner knows about the status of it. I've
Okay,
seen the closing is confirmed now, so I can contact the new owner.
okay.
But this new owner owns other property in town, you said?
Yes, it won't be a surprise to her that that this board exists and that we need to approve renovations.
Any kind of changes, okay.
She brought a COA for work on the telephone exchange building.
We had some
Right,
discussion
right.
of that. That hasn't gone any further either, but
Okay.
now it's an interesting project. So she now owns a retail building, an old building, and a telephone building. 3 parcels together. It makes for a nice site.
Sort of a
Yeah.
contiguous square lot. almost
Yeah.
between the three of them.
Becker's properties, I haven't talked with him in any more detail about it. The mail wasn't claimed. Thomas,
I
you
did
have
not
delivered.
see him. I stuck both envelopes in his door at 480, I think is the one that is his main address.
I haven't seen him run talk about it.
I'm really more concerned about the Tutwiler building
Yes.
across the street that he owns.
Mhm.
In terms of structural stability,
Yeah.
I don't know, man, Zach, you are across the street from it. I just,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew how vulnerable it really is, but it looks more and more vulnerable to me all the time.
It does. It does. And you'd probably need to get a contractor in there or a structural engineer to look at it probably, but that would have to be done at I guess we could order it, but it would have to be done at the owner's,
To assess structure.
yeah. So under the owner's purview, but I hear you. I mean,
It looks, I
It's-
mean, when we
it's
talk
starting to
about
sag in some significant
yes,
ways.
sagging and opening, and I
Yeah.
just feel like when we talk about how things get rated as poor,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about the safety risk to people, and we talk about whether or not the integrity of the building is such that we don't need to worry about it collapsing in on itself. I think
Right.
that one is as susceptible as any that we
Mm-hmm.
have in that category. Plus, maybe it's the one that's overgrown.
We're just
Right.
tipping over into the street, frankly. I mean, it's,
Well, the toe of the building is not tipping over into the street. It's really like coming in on itself.
Yeah.
Like there's some central
Yeah.
pieces that are kind of sinking. It's not tipping out.
you don't think of roof falls, walls could fall.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
Engineers.
the engineer again, an engineer. I don't know how the wood is all structured in there, but the way it's going is kind of like in rather than out. So like when I walk by it, I don't feel like it's coming at me.
As concerns about sort of public safety and nuisance go, I think, that's not a highly trafficked piece of sidewalk. My concern is a little less about somebody happening to be passing by as it enters into whatever final stage of destruction,
Oh, Thomas,
is in
you
the
don't
future.
live on that side
No,
of
I don't.
town.
It's true. I know.
I walk that sidewalk quite often,
Quite
which
often.
is why I know why that building looks the way it does.
I
because
was
it
gonna say,
concerns me.
what I was getting to is just the standing thing that is always there is the road, and the sidewalk is not terribly wide. And so I could foresee easily if that falls down in any fashion, some amount of it becoming an obstruction in the road,
Yeah.
and then VDOT's not necessarily,
They'll scoop it up.
right, you've got, again, that sort of
Right.
question of who's liable for what, and,
Right.
and all of that stuff becomes a big mess at that point.
Yeah, I mean, both issues, whether or not it's a safety risk and whether or not as a historic building, I mean, I don't know as much about the history of it as I'd like to, and I hope to learn more about it, but I think it was a boat shed, was it not?
That's what I'm
Pretty sure, which
yeah.
means it's got a lot of age on it.
Yeah.
And so from both of those standpoints, if it is something that is at risk of imploding or whatever it would do, because it's really sagging a lot. It would be nice to have, however limited a professional opinion we could get on how high a risk is this building for literally falling down.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that can be a building code call.
That makes sense.
That was the county's litigation on Meeks, that this.
Right.
This, the structure is a mess.
Yeah.
It enters us into that process with the county, though, as we were in with the house down here, where once they make a determination on it, it moves out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
If that's really where we are.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I just worry about it. That's all I do.
CSX, like we talked about, responded well to the service on this one, and their real estate team will be in town on Monday to look at it. So that will be their official response.
Okay.
What are they interested in? Repairing, disputing, or disposing of, to deal with it. But
Okay.
in the past, they have sometimes replied with, we don't think you have authority over this.
Yeah.
And reject the whole thing. That's not the case on this.
So that's good. So will you have a COA in hand? Again, sort of to process. It would
That's a good question.
be good to like meet with them, because if there are things that they do or do not want to do, that would be a good thing for us to talk through, or what they want to do would also be good for us to talk about, especially as it impacts the appearance of the outside as you're coming down East Main Street. So
They're coming from out of state, so I'll show them our process.
yeah,
Here's the application. If that's something that they're empowered to do, fill this out, and here's what we propose. Then we can get that.
right. But if there's like disagreement, for example,
Yeah.
it would be again helpful for them to attend a meeting virtually.
From Jacksonville.
Now that we got Zoom,
Yep.
you can do that.
That's right.
That would be helpful, I think.
Definitely.
And we may, I don't know, maybe we should articulate too what we want done. Because we want the soffits around the outside fixed, painted.
Mhm.
I think that's really sort of the main thing. Make sure the roof is,
That has some lines on it,
yeah,
but the
roof is tightened up.
edge of the roof is the most important part.
Yeah.
Overhang.
Okay.
This the old Spencer house sold.
Right.
How much did it sell? I can look it up later.
So we have this, I think it's a flip firm to work on it. So they've got the property now. This was served to them. I think we served it right after it closed.
Okay.
I saw some work going on up there that we went and talked with them about, didn't we? Window replacement or something?
Was there ever for sale sign?
It sold very quickly.
They were
Oh, okay.
scraping
That's
something
the
off the
one that
roof
we
one
was on our.
Oh, they did a clean roof replacement.
Yeah.
That's what it was, because it was taking water damage. And this one, I met the roofer, pressed them on what they were doing. They did replace with an identical roof,
Right.
which is exact. So
Right.
that went okay. And like seeing the work being done. Hello, welcome to town. We have a historic district. What you're doing is exempt. Carry on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they made some mention about upcoming window replacement when we talked with them about that. I could be making that up. I could be confusing that with a different.
No, that
project.
makes sense, because isn't that on the
I
inventory?
thought window was on the thing that
It
we
is.
talked about. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
So maybe reach out to them, maybe ask them about that when you reach out to
Mhm.
them.
What's the plan? Because we identified these issues. Thank you for doing the roof. But
Yeah.
These are the things that we're concerned with.
if you're
So we
getting
didn't know
to
there was
windows,
like-
you'll need to see material. Yeah, here are the regulations.
I haven't seen any yet, but I haven't seen any of the crews there. Sometimes you miss them.
Yeah. I know
Um,
they happen.
This one, I'm in touch with the Kutner's agent on this now. We talked in May. I've been copying him on these agendas. We still need to get the COA. They have not done any further work.
Where's 550? What's 550? That's
Stinson.
the Stinson House. Oh, Stinson House, okay.
Stinson COA needed. They tried to sell it. It needed too much work. It wasn't selling at that price. So they do expect to do some work and then list it again.
Okay.
So the COA before they do the work is important.
Mhm.
Oh, I know how to get hold of Satoshi.
Yeah, Mr. Dachi's here most days.
Okay.
Although this is kind of one of those weird ones, like this is really not
I know.
an ARB thing because it's really, there's no structure.
It's other kind of landscaping issues, yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's anything for us there because we like,
I know, it's hard to know.
it's just kind of like a lot.
It's debris.
Yeah, it's just debris, which isn't really our purview.
Is that shed still on
It's
it?
just kind of notable.
Is that shed still on it?
I don't know.
Temporary shed.
There's like a
So,
shed. But it's actually, today I noticed that it had just been kind of clear cut.
Yeah,
It
that's some of
looks
that.
better.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is really, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think there's anything enforceable here for us because there's no
Yeah.
structure.
I agree.
And I think the, you know, it's good that we have it in our inventory because it's a lot,
Exactly.
you know, where there
And
was a
something-
structure.
And something could go
And
up there.
right,
It'll
and there-
get- it'll get-
And there could be a structure there again.
I think
So,
Expect a permit for new construction at some point in the future, but
Mhm.
And I've talked about that with them
yeah,
occasionally over the years.
so whatever that is.
No further conversation with Mr. Meeks since that site meeting that we had.
Got it.
The last thing we talked about related to the,
Angle of the porch roof, or no? This is not that one.
no, it's the other, I'm sorry, yeah, it's the one next to that one.
Right, this is the one with the windows boarded up, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
where, he claimed no, it shouldn't be poor because it's not exposed to the elements. There's no,
Right.
it is enclosed.
Yes.
And we were concerned if there was a risk of water damage,
Mhm.
and he said there wasn't.
Correct.
Right, but again, I feel like, again, it goes back to the boarded up windows and the interpretation of our town with multiple buildings with boarded up windows.
Yeah.
And he knows, I mean, of all people,
Mhm.
he knows what that looks like to the public.
Mhm.
Right.
And he is refusing to fix them.
Yes.
And I think at this point, I mean, we had the conversation with him.
Yep.
We talked about this, not just structurally, because I mean, it is particle board, which falls apart more easily, but it's also painted.
Mhm.
So chances are it's probably not a structural issue right now, but he won't let us see
Mhm.
whether it is or not.
Mhm.
And well, I think the larger issue is that we have like the place next to Butler's, we gave them poor rating because of the boarded up window. They just fixed it.
Mhm.
And we need to be consistent with
Mhm.
everyone.
Right, because and that one again is sort of like how long does unfinished work go unfinished?
Right.
So like something's fair because like I don't know, it's sealed. You know, it's not complete work. He's
Something.
done something. He's trying to restore fire damage or whatever.
Right.
But how long does sort of incomplete work go on? Incomplete work cannot go on indefinitely because the job needs to be finished.
Well, and it's really clear that that is not a house. And he even said himself, I either sell the house.
Mhm.
I think he basically said
He
it
did.
doesn't get done until I sell the house.
Right. He wasn't willing to put in the work until he was ready to sell it.
And
it
it's
sounded
very
like.
clear it's just a storage area
Right.
for other building materials.
Right.
Which is not how homes should be used in the historic district.
Mhm.
It's like using downstairs as a storage unit.
Right.
For Dutch meat type. It's the same thing,
Mhm.
if not worse.
It's an interesting thought. Yeah. Is that a zoning violation?
I feel like at this point, we
Yeah.
need to be very clear with him. And we had talked about getting, what's the lawyer's name?
Jim
Bowling.
Bowling.
Getting him, I don't know where we are in the process, but getting him involved in this if he refuses to do this work.
Mhm.
Because the way we left it was, okay, we hear you, and we hope to see you next meeting. We never saw him.
Right. Well, I think that leaves us sort of in the same spot we are with these other ones. I think is if nobody, if other people don't do the work either, so where does that leave us? And I think
Right.
Jim's guidance was to pick a case.
Yeah.
And do that one.
Yeah, you don't have to send all of them to the judge at the same time.
Right.
But yes, you're right. I mean, the result of our consultation was a dispute about the poor condition finding.
Yeah, and the way we left it was him saying, I'm not doing it.
Well, there is a process for him to dispute the findings of this, if he would like to do that, isn't that a process for him to say, I think this is
We take
wrong?
it to town
Which is
council.
why we
Right.
said, then you need to come
Yes,
to.
right. So
the
making sure
meeting.
that he knows that that is what he has to do, otherwise he continues to be in violation of his zoning
And he
ordinance.
knows that.
Okay.
We told him that he needs to be at the next meeting, and he never.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know if he knows that he can go before town council to get the decision.
He knows that.
He probably knows that.
He
He probably
was
knows
only
that.
in big trouble.
You're right. He knows that. He knows that.
I think Mr. Bowling's recommendation, wasn't it, that, focus on a couple
Yeah.
of some of the repeat offenders and who are multiple property owners. Because we do have,
That's right.
I can think of 4 right now that are multiple property owners.
Mhm.
So that goes to the heart of how it reflects on our town.
Mhm.
To your point, that if we've got a number of buildings that
Right.
fall into this category,
Mhm.
In
They-
that case, I think we should follow through with the process as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
Because he owns multiple properties and many of them are needing work.
Right. And so when would when does the year come up? Because it's at the end of the year.
Next month
right?
makes 6 months since you served your findings, since
To
you
everybody.
determined your findings, and the first mail went out in March.
So do we go a year from when the mail was claimed,
The minutes,
or do we go a year from when?
we actually had this in the agenda items on the minutes that it was saying, these were sort of counting down.
Yeah,
May said required at this meeting or the June meeting. June said required at this meeting. For our reserve to discuss required repairs to poor condition
Yeah.
properties, legal notice having been served and attendance required. So we counted down at, the April, May or June meeting and went through all 3 of
yeah,
those.
the March letter is notice of a problem,
Okay.
and failure to begin the process to fix it is illegal.
Okay. So then issuing a court order, we do that next March.
Started.
How? Like
Yeah,
they're
see.
currently in contempt.
Oh, I see.
We ordered them to appear and they didn't.
I see.
So
Got it.
as
That's
soon
quick.
as you're ready to go to the judge and say, I have a violation of Scottsville's ordinances here, here's my pattern.
Mm-hmm.
We did the inspection,
Yeah.
we contacted them repeatedly, they never showed up. This is a continuing problem in our community.
Done, let's do it.
I want judgment.
Cool. So then here's what I think we should do. I think at our next meeting, I think for our August agenda, I think part of our conversation should be which of these to focus on. Because we have 4, you said?
Well,
well,
let's
there's
see.
the Marshall property. there's the Ward has multiples, Meeks has multiples, and Dave Becker has two.
Ward has sold one of those.
That's
So
true.
Ward only has
Yeah,
one, so
that's
really
true.
has three.
Yeah, so three.
Okay.
And Putner did bring us a COA for work
Yeah.
that they wanted to do on the.
Yeah, so I didn't say cut.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I,
Yeah.
well, they
No,
have the,
Miller. No, what-
I guess that's a different LLC,
Marshall,
but they
Marshall.
have the big Dollar General.
Yeah, so I would say
Marshall.
at our
Meeks,
August meeting,
And
we
Becker.
pick our enforcement case.
Just one,
Mm-hmm.
start with.
Let's get a structural assessment of
So yeah,
the Tutwiler building before we go after Becker. I don't want. I mean, I'd like to know that it's as poor as it looks, you know, I mean, I'd like some sort of affirmation that it's,
mm-hmm.
what are you
So,
thinking, Thomas? What do
well,
you
I'm thinking we can either pay for that ourselves and keep it in-house and retain the ability to make the decision that is informed by that,
Yeah,
but we don't have money budgeted for that.
Uh-huh.
Or as Matt described earlier, we call the county building official and say, we think that this is a property in danger of being condemned. And they come down and look at it and make the determination and take over the, you know,
I think it's,
sorry,
We're claiming that we're claiming that it's structurally unsound
right.
and inviting the owner to defend.
Mm-hmm.
by,
Prove to me that it's sound.
okay,
You pay.
Okay.
because
Because
it's
we're relying on your expertise as a board to claim that it's poor and unsound.
All right, well, let's table this conversation to August.
No, that's a good point. So
It's a good-
I feel like that's
Yeah.
a legally defensible
Yeah.
position. Go ahead.
Good, but I think this is the conversation we should have in August,
Okay.
and when Bob is able to be here and Tyler, then we can
Okay.
move forward from there, but I think those are the kinds of questions we'll be asking.
But I can certainly express that to all of these folks, that
Yeah.
we are continuing this enforcement. And
Mhm.
we have been 6 months.
Yeah, let's do it. Let them know. Cool. All right, any informational items? Hey, what about the application for certified local government? Has that been
Oh,
sidelined?
boy. It has not, Bob. I need a resume from you. We sent in an incomplete application. They are holding on to our provisional status. We have a couple of things that we need, but
I remember you told me about it, Bob, and I was very impressed, but they want something in writing.
Ooh,
I need an agenda from you. I mean, not agenda, I'm sorry. I need a resume from you, Bob.
okay.
For the
Certified local government program.
eminences in Richmond.
what was the verdict about?
For this position that I hold right now,
Bylaws and stuff.
In order for us. I'm sorry.
That's okay, you finish your thought.
Yes, Bob, I'm not, town council doesn't need it, but the bigwigs in Richmond do in order for us to be credentialed as a board. They want to know your qualifications, not any particular qualifications, just that.
okay, I'll get with you on that, Matt,
Thank you, sir.
what I need to do. I mean, I have resumes, but they're old.
That's fine. I don't think they're gonna be
Okay,
too.
I'll tell them that I know you. How about that?
Bob O'Halloran, qualification.
I have, do I have a minute just to ask a question?
Please,
Something off the beaten track here.
for information.
Hillary, who's reached out to you guys for maybe helping the town. I was thinking perhaps of maybe talking to her. I have not talked to her or spoken to her about getting this house, help with her to put the house on the National Register of Historic Homes, which I've already been told it already is. I just need to do the paperwork, and I'm not a paperwork guy.
I have met her and it was a good first impression. I don't know her qualifications to help you with that, but she's around and interested in history, and I'm sure she's happy to talk with you.
Okay, would anybody mind if I contact her? That's the question.
No,
It's
Okay.
a EA history student who's around.
Thanks.
for sure.
I think it's a good activity for an aspiring historian to learn about how the historic register.
Yeah, and of course I'd pay her. I mean, I'd pay her for her help, so.
I don't know if you all saw her picture, but she seems older.
Mhm.
So she's not a young student, is my understanding. And it sounds as though she's got quite a few qualifications.
Yeah, but Aaron, I'm single, you know.
Oh, no.
Going on the record.
Girlfriend.
Oh, well, she's not here right now.
That's what I'm talking about. All going on.
Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
I
Cool.
have a question.
Mhm.
What was the verdict on my position being a licensed architect?
They're not gonna ask us to kick anybody off of the board, so it is fine. But when, yes, that will be one of our provisional things. We will need to eventually get a
In the
licensed,
future.
yeah, architect on the board.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what they'll tell us about, like, within a certain number of years, or the next term that becomes available,
Right.
or, however they'll make us do that. I don't have any more details on that. But they have said provisionally, you don't need to change any membership on the
Okay.
board. Everything will be fine.
Okay. The other informational
You don't
item.
feel licensed?
No, he said, I'm glad you're here.
Oh.
We would if we could.
I brought up to council at the last work session the new sort of clutter ordinance that we are now empowered to pass. It was unclear to me exactly how interested council was in that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, do you want to do this? And it's just kind of like, thanks, Zach. Okay. And then like we kept moving. So I don't know exactly like what the level of interest is. It sounds like is the AR. So what's the ARB? Would you all be interested in
Yes.
exploring?
Yes.
Okay. So the ARB is interested.
But the issue is that is that our purview? Like, is the
Well, what I think, and this is what I was presenting to council, was that I would not want this ordinance to apply to the town at large. So I think it would be inappropriate for just like Scottsville.
Right.
But I think it would be
Historic.
appropriate for the historic district. And I did not get super clear guidance that like we could do that. Did I not hear something or?
No,
Other
that
people
was
similarly
the
sort of
question.
ambiguous?
That was absolutely the question was, outside of the sort of zoning distinctions that we make, how do we pass an ordinance that only applies to a portion of the town? And
Yeah,
not the
like-
rest? And so that might just be a work session question for Jim.
All right, so I'm gonna bring that back up and see
Great.
what feedback is, if I can get some more specific feedback. And perhaps invite Jim to an ARB meeting or something, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, my
Um,
my hunch is that that kind of ordinance needs to be consistent townwide.
Okay.
I could easily be wrong there.
All right, well, we'll find out.
Mhm.
We'll find out. Because I wouldn't be interested in doing it if it had to apply to the whole town. But I don't know, maybe the council wants it to apply to the whole town. I don't know.
How does the mayor feel?
I don't know. This is my issue. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm talking about it. I don't know. So I think I'm going to ask for more specific
Yeah,
feedback.
a little
This-
more leading question.
I think I think I'll ask for a little more
Yeah.
a little more feedback this time around. But it's good to hear that everyone here is still very much interested in this, at least for the historic overlay district, and then we'll see if where
What we can
council
Yeah.
stands on it.
yeah.
So, okay.
Well, I think, I mean, it would, yes. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Cool. All right. Good enough. I have no other informational items. I'm good.
No.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all. This is a late one, but thanks for everyone's input and for sticking it out.
That's what being in
Appreciate it.
person does.
Yeah.
It makes it
Yeah.
longer,
Oh,
I
but
guess.
for better or worse,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Good to see.
All right, Bob, we'll see you next month. Be
Great
well.
to see you all. Thank you very much. Good to
Bye.
see you.
Oh, do we have to adjourn for them?
Oh, yeah.
Motion?
To
So
adjourn.
otherwise
I
I'll stay
second.
here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well done.
You
Okay,
just
there you
leave
go.
before I'm dissolved.
You know, that's true. Isn't that just the way
It
too?
is,
You can also just get up and go. It does the same thing.